It's time to play. Let's rewind to yesterday. The fun begins. We're here to stay. Ready, set, replay.
Welcome back, everybody, to the second episode of Ready, Set, Replay, the ultimate video game replay podcast. I'm Daniel McGee, and joined, as always, by my best friend, Skyler. In this episode, we're going to be talking about Banjo Tooie. Get this, the second of the Banjo games. That's what the Tooie is for. I was going through, trivia for Banjo Tooie to, pull stuff, and I swear to God, one of the very first things was, Tooie is a portmanteau of two and kazooie, and I was like, yeah, no, really, you think?
Now that you point it out,
I was like, whoa.
yeah, that's pretty cool. That's good.
So glad that you've chosen to put that on all of your trivia sites to help me out.
It's funny because we famously never got to 3.
To 3, yeah.
Yeah,
They make a joke about it, but...
They do at the very end of this game, but I don't think... 3E does not roll off the tongue
it really
as well
doesn't.
as 2E does.
But at this point...
It's a good title, 2E. I think that's a good
It is. It really
bit
is.
for the sequel.
I do think at this point, though, if they did a soft reboot, which is probably the way to do it, because it's not like it's a type of game series where you would need to reboot it and do the first game again. There's not really a story that you need to care about.
Mm-hmm.
I do think, unironically, a 2025, 2026 release of Banjo 3E I would pop for that.
Oh yeah.
In a way that I would not pop for just Banjo Kazooie again.
Right.
Anyway, so Banjo Tooie came out on November 20th of 2000. Let's cast our minds back to that many, many years ago.
Oh no.
So in the news, to be honest, not a ton was happening this week, so I had to pull some things that are interesting, but are not the biggest news in the world. Bill Clinton, remember last time we talked about the Monica Lewinsky scandal a little bit, is unrelated to that. It seems to be largely in the clear. He's got 4 months left of being president before George W. Bush takes over. But he, on the 16th, becomes the first president to visit Vietnam since the war. And actually, weirdly, the first U.S. leader to ever visit Hanoi on an official capacity.
Okay.
Worth noting is that the Clintons did, prior to their political campaign, pretty heavily protest the U.S.'s involvement in Vietnam. So they were probably the right people to go. The box office...
see, this is up my alley
Here we go. This is the one. It's November of 2000. Do you know what the big Christmas movie of 2000 was? Because it is number one.
The big Christmas movie of 2000.
Of the year 2000.
No. What is it?
It is Jim Carrey's The Grinch.
Of course it is.
How the Grinch
All right,
Stole Christmas.
there he is.
The movie where famously he had to take torture endurance training to be able to deal with getting the makeup put on.
Yeah.
What a mess.
Yeah.
This shocked me actually because I didn't think that movie was that old.
That's why I wasn't able to venture a guess, because I was picturing I was like, no, Santa Claus was a little earlier, and I thought Grinch was 2001, 2002, but 2000, yeah, I guess that makes sense.
Yeah, on the week of November 20th, it was number one. I guess I don't actually know if another Christmas movie comes out closer to Christmas, but that I have to assume is the big one because it's the one that has held up the longest. It's still one of the, I think, more popular Christmas movies.
I think even despite how stupid that movie can be,
right,
a massive part of the charm is that town is real. It's a full set. You can still tour it in
really?
On the tram
they
tour.
Haven't torn it down or anything?
No, it's part of the Universal Studios tram tour.
That's really cool. I didn't know that. Number 2 is Rugrats in Paris, of all things.
You know what? Let me amend my statement. I believe it's still there, because every once in a while you'll just hear oh yep, Universal Studios caught fire again. Clock Tower's gone, King Kong's gone. I think it's still there. I have not been in a while.
We lost the big Jaws robot. You'd be surprised. It was underwater, still caught fire. Don't know how it happened.
No, they just threw that away just cause.
Did they really?
The Florida one.
Oh,
the Florida
okay,
one they did, not the anyways, I was gonna say another part of the tour, the tram tour there, is the Steven Spielberg War of the Worlds, the plane crash in the neighborhood set.
Oh.
I feel like that could catch fire and it'd be fine. You could just leave that because it's all just torn up cars and stuff.
That's true. There's probably a lot of you could have the entire Mad Max set catch fire and no one would know. The rest of this list just kind of falls off pretty fast because number 3 is The Sixth Day, which, do you even know what that is?
No.
It's an Arnold Schwarzenegger movie about him being cloned against his will. and he has to,
never-
I assume, fight his clone.
I've legitimately never heard of this.
Yeah. And then it goes Charlie's Angels, Meet the Parents, The Legend of Bagger Vance, and then on and on and on. And then number 11 is Nutty Professor to the Clumps.
All right, nice. All right.
I had to mention that one specifically because, like, just what a time.
Because we have someone who will listen to this that will pop for that.
There's at least one person who'll be like, "Oh my God, Nutty Professor! I can't believe it."
Yeah.
There's a lot of movies.
I have it on Blu-ray.
I have it on
Yeah.
Blu-ray. Abrar. There's like a bunch in that top 10 that like they bring forth the emotion of like the 2000s because in there also at number 9 is Bring It On, and number 7 is Remember the Titans.
2000s was a time.
Yeah.
Truly. Like people, I feel like we're stuck in the era of 80s nostalgia. And I feel like we're starting to transfer a little bit into the 90s.
Right.
Man, as growing up in this period of the 2000s, some of it can be left behind.
Yeah.
I feel like every era has that, but we'll keep Sugar Ray. That's what we'll keep.
I wonder what like the things from this time period that we'll look back at and be like, we probably shouldn't keep that. I want like, is it going to be like Charlie XCX? Is it going to be like Doja Cat?
our current time
like
period?
right now, like Gen A.
X.com.
Oof. Ugh. Hopefully it'll get a
What-
third name soon.
What are people gonna look back on the Cybertrucks like?
I hope that they just release a secondary version of the Cybertruck that like has more polygons. Like that would be my hope.
Oh, it's even more polygonal.
Yeah.
So many edges you'll cut yourself while
Yeah.
trying to open the door.
It rolls down the street like a tumbleweed. On the music side of things, number 1 is Independent Woman by Destiny's Child. Do you remember this song at all?
I remember Destiny's Child.
Can you name more than one member of Destiny's Child?
You know I can't. It's just Beyonce. It's not fair.
I feel like there's a lot of people who could name 3. I ended up looking it up because I was curious. There were throughout the many years there were 6 different members of Destiny's Child. The other 2 big ones are Kelly Rowland and Michelle Williams, and then everyone else I have not heard their name before. I think ever. But I did watch the music video for it, and it's a crossover music video with Charlie's Angels, which was also like number 4 in the box office at the time. So it's this weird like combination of both of the things doing extremely well in their respective
Meeting of
fields.
the
That are
minds.
pretty cool.
That means that in theory, to fully encapsulate this period of time, like that's the time capsule right there.
Yeah, is watch
that
Charlie's
music
Angels, the
video.
movie. Specifically, the music video shows the part. Have you seen the Charlie's Angel movie?
I'm trying to remember if I've seen. There's 2,
It's
and I'm
the-
trying to
it's-
remember which one I saw. I don't
It's-
know.
I mean, it is the first one, this one, but specifically in this music video, they show the scene where Cameron Diaz is dancing at like a club for very specifically black people, and she is dancing in the whitest way possible. Like she's all but doing like the shopping, like the dances from Hitch. Like she's almost doing like
Oh, nice.
like the shopping cart and the sprinkler or whatever. And everyone's just like looking at her like, what are you doing? But she's feeling herself so hard. Like she's just in the moment. Number 2 is With Arms Wide Open by Creed.
There you go.
Number 3 is Kryptonite by Three Doors Down.
There you go. Now we're throwing some heaters.
I know, it's a good time. And then number 10, I had to throw it in here as a throwback to the first episode, is a Backstreet Boys song. It is Shape of My Heart. But yeah, are you in the mindset of a 2000s kid? Of a November 20th, 2000s kid?
I am ready.
What is your history with Banjo Tooie? Because this is my first time playing the game at all. Like, even booting it up.
All right, here we go. We're talking about Banjo Tooie.
Banjo Tooie, time for 2.
Big awaited sequel, big acclaimed sequel to Banjo Kazooie. Great game of the N64.
Right.
I gonna rip this Band-Aid off. I don't like this game.
Yeah, it's definitely a step down for me. I don't know that I like dislike it, but it's not as good. Let's just get that. If you were coming to this expecting us to be like the people who are going to be like, actually, it's better than Kazooie, I'm sorry.
No, not saying
Although
that.
those videos, there's tons of those videos on YouTube.
Yeah, I've noticed. I'm not going to be like super crazy harsh on it either. But my history, I need to say I don't like this game because my history with it is I played Banjo Kazooie like I said, like what, back in high school or whatever. It was the first time I played Kazooie, and it's like, okay, there's a sequel. Let's play the sequel. And I just at that time couldn't get into it. I just couldn't this starts with what feels like a Kojima length cutscene that is unskippable.
Right, and it's not actually that long, but for some reason
It's
it
not.
feels really long.
Well, I think it feels really long because you boot up Kazooie and then you can mash some buttons and you're playing.
Right, and you can even like
And
skip all the tutorials and stuff.
and,
Whereas
and this
this one,
one,
I guess maybe we should explain it. This one starts with like all of our heroes playing cards. It's Mumbo, Bottles,
yeah,
Banjo, and Kazooie who are on a tag team. Mumbo's winning, and
these,
Kazooie is
these
trying to
cheating.
cheat. And one of the things that she does is she's
Yeah.
like, "Grunty's back," and like I guess Klungo has been just like trying to push this rock off of Grunty for the last 2 years and couldn't get the job done until Grunty's sisters show up in a mining machine.
It's that machine from that the mole guy from Atlantis: The Lost Empire drives.
But no, yeah. So it's her two sisters show up, lift the rock off of her with magic because witches, and then Grunty, as a skeleton, throws a grenade basically into the home and kills Bottles.
Yeah, Bottle's dead. Like
Bottles-
legitimately, spirit leaves body dead.
Yeah. Well, okay. So here's a fun fact about this before we like really get into it. Did you know that originally Bottles dying? I mean, they wanted it to be a darker tone, so that was a big part of it. But another part of it was that it was actually going to be a way to play the game in co-op.
Like you play as who?
So
Like the second player who?
So player one would play as Banjo and Kazooie,
hmm
and player two would play as the devil version of Bottles. So there was like Angel Bottles and Devil Bottles, and the second player would play as Devil Bottles, and he would be able to go and like possess enemies, and if he killed you, he took over as Banjo, and you just like fought back and forth while trying to play the game. But they took it out because presumably it sounds like it wouldn't be any fun at all.
yeah, that sounds a little wild.
So you've tried to play this before, but like have never really gotten particularly far into it.
I think back in the day when I like gave it the first shot, I got to Glitter Gulch Mine, and I was like, I'm done."
Yeah,
And it's kind
that's
of
early
it's
too.
kind
That's like
of a-
World 2.
it's not far, and I think it's partially a thing of like this game adds a lot, and on paper, it all seems good, and once you get in the swing of it, it's not that bad. But like the idea of like, all right, we're adding all these moves on top of the moves you already have, and then there's all these different kinds of eggs that have different uses. I mean, really, it's not that bad because
No.
just shoot the grenade eggs and you're fine.
True.
or occasionally the ice ones, like the other ones, don't really matter that much until you get to like to the little remote control ones. But
That's my favorite one. I really like those.
you know, when I first unlocked that, I thought I was gonna hate it. I was like, this is gonna be a big piece of shit, pain in the ass. But
they're just really cute. I like.
they're
the
not that
little
bad.
clockwork Kazooies.
They control pretty easy. I was worried about that.
Yeah, I had trouble getting them to land on platforms sometimes, but otherwise,
Yeah.
And I think also I used as soon as I figured out that you could pick up collectibles with the clockwork guy. I
Yeah.
was like, there are so many jumps that I'm just gonna not do.
hmm
I'm just gonna use this to not play as much of this game as possible.
So, long story short, back in the day, trying to play this after Kazooie, I got to Canary Mary, screamed, and then turned it off. Fast
Oh,
forward
we'll
to
get to her.
today. Fast forward to today, and it's like, all right, time to give this one a real shot because
Yeah.
I had never actually completed the game before doing it for this conversation. Now we have a mutual friend of ours,
Steven.
Steven, who I don't know. Do we ever get him on this show in the future? Maybe.
Maybe
We'll see.
eventually, yeah.
See.
If he's not
but
arrested by then,
yeah, well, she could be
any day now,
for Banjo Tooie related crimes.
they're coming for him.
But yeah, he loves this game and he's been a big defender of this game. But he would always say like, "Oh yeah, no, it's backtrack the game." And I think
Yeah.
that's what killed it for me because you do the first world, and you're like, "Why can't? Where's the last? What do I do? Oh, I can't get it till later."
Yeah.
That's something. Now there's 2 worlds in Kazooie where that is a problem. Not a pro. There's
Is there two?
very
The only one I
clearly.
can think of is when you have to go back with the like running shoes for.
Well,
Freezy.
yeah. So when I say that there's 2, it's swappable. Like there's a thing in Gobi's Valley that you can't do until you get the move from Freezy Peak, and vice versa. You can't.
I
You got to get the
see.
running shoes to do that in Freezy Peak. Depending on which one you do first. Which yeah, there's one that you unlock first, but if you decide not to, whatever, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, then you're just
Uh,
running into the same problem in a different place.
But this one, like, like right off the bat, like, no, you got to come back, and then you go to the next world, and it's like, no, you can't get that until you come back, and then you go to the next world, and it's just like you can't do the thing here until you get something 2 worlds from now, and it
Yeah.
just stacks and stacks and stacks to the point where you basically have to commit to just doing what you can, and then
Moving
going
on.
back and doing every world again, just cleaning up, and it's kind of annoying in that way. I mean, at least they added those fast travel silos in the hub world. I guess that
Yeah.
helps.
I would say there's not enough of those, but yes. The backtracking doesn't annoy me as much. Like I don't like it, but there because I look at it and I'm like there's a lot of games, like modern games that I really love that involve a lot of backtracking. I
Yeah.
think it's not necessarily like the existence of backtracking that annoys me in this game as so much as like it just feels really obtuse, you know? Because of how much it's like, oh, I can't just fast travel from here to the other
Yeah.
world. I have to fast travel to the entrance of this world, then walk out, then get to a silo, then fast travel to the place closest to the other world, then walk in
Yeah.
and fast travel from there to the place that I needed. Like, there's just so many like extra steps in the middle that make it obtuse in a way that is just like not fun to do.
Hmm.
But yeah,
Uh,
so I mean, because that was my experience going into this, right? Is I had never played it before. I've never booted it up, and all I had was knowing that you were not particularly fond of it, and I didn't think Steven was particularly fond of it either. I remember him saying like that he didn't hate it, but that it wasn't like it was significantly worse than the first one. And as someone who
I
was already like the first one's good, but it's not like one of my favorite games, I was like, oh okay. So like I was worried going into this game to
Mhm.
say the least.
Yeah, here's something that I should have said 5 minutes ago. Immediately after I said I don't like this game, I don't hate this game either. I
No,
don't I don't I don't love this game. I don't hate this game. I do respect this game. I think this game has some cool things. I don't think it lives up to the potential that it could have
yeah,
been quite at all, really. But we'll talk about that as we get into the worlds.
yeah.
That's
I
where it
think
kind of
that's a
becomes more apparent.
I think that's a really good way to put it though. Is like it had some really good ideas, but just like didn't capitalize
Mm.
on them in the way that you would have wanted. Real fast before we get into breaking down the worlds, I just want to say so it's only been 2 years between this and the first in Banjo Kazooie in terms of like actual real world time, and I guess also in game time because they say it's been 2 years that Grunty's been under that rock.
Right.
How many games, just top of your head, how many games do you think Rare has released in those 2 years?
Oh, God, I don't remember the rare timeline.
I'm gonna tell you right now, whatever number you say, it's gonna be more.
Shit.
Whatever
When
number
did
you were going to think, add like 4.
when did Slalom come out? I don't know.
It's 9. They
Nine
put out
games
9
in
games
2 years.
between Kazooie and Tooie. Now, some of that is a little bit fluff because I mean we'll get into it, but it was Conker's Pocket Tales for the Game Boy Color, which is I think the
Okay.
first Conker game. There was Jet Force Gemini,
Okay.
which I've never played, but maybe we will at some point. It was in '99, so we'd have to go back to do it, but I don't know.
Hmm.
Same for Donkey Kong 64.
Oh, that was in between. Okay.
That was in '99. Mickey's Racing Adventure for the Game Boy Color. Donkey Kong
Alright.
Game Boy Dinky Kong and Dixie Kong. Perfect
Okay.
Dark, which we'll be playing soon.
That's
Perfect
it's on our
Dark,
list
but
for
the
this year.
Game Boy version, which is a different game.
I don't think we're gonna play that one, but
No,
okay.
we won't. Donkey Kong Country for the Game Boy Color. It's already had been out like several years before that, but
Mhm.
the Game Boy version came out. And Mickey's Speedway USA for the Game Boy Color. So 9 games. Like they are out here just putting out projects left,
When the
right, and
hell-
center.
When the hell did they get the Mickey Mouse IP?
They made a deal with Disney specifically for racing games, and I think those were the only 2 that came out of it.
Interesting.
But it was like a big deal at the time because people including Rare at the time were like really expecting for Nintendo to buy Rare and just make them a first party like game maker.
Sure. Yeah.
And Nintendo just wouldn't put a ring on it. And so they were like, okay, well, we're going to start shopping around and like finding other people who can publish our games. And one of the first people they went to was Disney and then eventually Microsoft in 2002. Because literally everybody at the time was like, why is Nintendo not just buying Rare? Like they make some of
Yeah.
the best games for them. And we should also mention before we get into it, some differences between the N64 and the Xbox version of Tooie. There weren't a ton. I'm assuming you also played the Xbox version. I guess I shouldn't
This-
assume that, but I
This
do.
one absolutely.
Yeah.
Now I own the N64 version for the collection, but just we talked about last time how like
It's just easier.
we're fake gamers and we're bad gamers. First of
Yeah,
all,
true.
we'll put
Awful
that.
games. So bad at
Say
games.
say that before the comments do.
Yeah.
But with just like the little quality of life things that like Kazooie did on the Xbox port, where like, oh, you don't lose your notes when you die, etc.
Yeah.
Knowing that going in, I was like, I'm not fucking with any of
I'm
the
not
extra
bothering.
hard shit
Yeah.
that Tooie has to throw at me, because there's one massive change in between Kazooie and Tooie that we're going to talk about, and I'm going to complain about quite a bit once we fully get into it. But just knowing that, I was like, I'm
Yeah.
not fucking with the older version on this
So
specific playthrough. I'm not doing it.
the differences I pulled here, and I'm starting to wonder if maybe I missed one because I don't think any of these are like super huge. Um, but the ones that I pulled here are obviously there's a lot of differences in like the graphics. Like the machine
Yeah.
is a lot stronger, so you get a better fidelity, better resolution, better
Sure.
frame rate, which is apparently a huge problem with the N64 version, as well as the draw distance is significantly longer.
Sure.
You can, in the Xbox version, you get hints towards where the jiggies are, which I think is pretty helpful. I literally don't know how I would have played this game without either the internet or that. You know what I
Well,
mean?
I'll tell you. I was playing it, and I didn't know that
Yeah.
was a thing until you told me,
I
and
didn't
I
find
was
out until
on.
Pterodactyl Land. So
Yeah, I was on like world 7 or 8. No, eight's the last one. So must have been on like the sixth world,
yeah,
and you were like, go to help and options, and I
go to
was like,
help and
what
options.
the
It's
fuck?
important. Yeah,
It saved me hours.
it would have. And then the only other one that I have here of like major differences, because a lot of them were like, we changed the text, and over here where it says 3E, we changed it to nuts and bolts or whatever. But the only other one that I
Yeah.
have of that is like of consequence is that now the stop and swap works.
Yeah. That some fun stuff.
Not a
I
ton. Like
I
you get Dragon Kazooie, and then you get the one where he like slams her on the ground as a move.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's nothing that's really going to change the game for you
I think the
unless
fire one is really helpful actually.
Dra- Dra-
Like having
uh,
Dragon
Dra-
Kazooie.
Dragon Kazooie does give you unlimited fire eggs, which again I didn't realize because I didn't use fire eggs a lot. The eggs you're required to use most of the time are the grenade eggs, and you got to freeze some stuff with the ice eggs every once in a while, and
Right.
then you have to use like the little remote control eggs, whatever those are called.
I think it's like clockwork eggs.
Something.
Something.
But basically it became a thing where I wasn't using regular eggs or fire eggs basically at all. Especially since like, because there are some things where you like, oh, start this fire or heat
Yeah.
up the whatever. But I
Let me
had
shoot
Dragon
this. Let me
Kazooie.
shoot this TNT barrel with a fire egg. Oh, it doesn't
Yeah.
work. What?
Well, sure, that too. But yeah, so like I did unlock Dragon Kazooie because I got the ice egg or the ice key from the first game. So she breathes fire. So I wasn't using the fire egg. So I didn't realize until once again Steven, as mentioned, told
Right.
me. He
Friend
was
of the
like,
show.
"Oh yeah, the Dragon Kazooie gives you the unlimited fire eggs." I was like, "What?"
That's crazy.
So again, the later half of the game, I realized, oh, that's
Yeah.
and specifically like the last boss fight. That's kind of
I hadn't
fell back on using that quite a
I
bit.
hadn't done the stop and swap things until we were talking about it that same day that I told you about the like jiggy tips. I hadn't done
Right.
the stop and swap stuff. So I was on what, like Grunty Industries or whatever. And I was like, "Oh yeah, I should probably go and get those and get these things." So I spent more than half of the game without Dragon Kazooie, and the second little bit that I did was significantly easier, I think, with her.
Yeah. Right. Once I changed her to a dragon, I never changed her back.
No,
And
I
the
mean, why
rest of
would
the
you?
stop and swap stuff is like it doesn't really matter. Like
No.
there was a Xbox gamer picture and there was
Yeah.
like a Xbox theme where I unlocked that and I was like, how do I even
Can I
on
even
a,
still
on a Series
look at
X,
this?
can I still do that?
I'm
Like,
assuming not. But let's get into these worlds because I think that's where
boy.
the majority of this conversation is gonna really
the
stem
real
from.
meat.
The real meat. We can burn through Spiral Mountain real fast, I think, because I don't think there's a ton worth mentioning in it.
It's the same exact area as the last game, but it's been destroyed by Grunty. It's all tore up. There's tire tracks. There's parts of the mountain missing. There's a sad dying fish under a rock, which I didn't
Right.
know about till I went back there later and just kind of found him dying. I was like, oh my god.
It does annoy me that Spiral Mountain doesn't get a fast travel point.
Yeah, you gotta go back to the Jinjo village and then walk back through the tunnel. Especially considering that, like, Cheeto is up there.
Right.
Like, you would think there. I even looked around, like, did I miss one? But no, I don't believe we did.
I think it's
He's
annoying
just-
that there's not a fast travel point there, and I also think it's annoying that they don't really do anything to point you towards the fish, Royston, I think, because the power up he gives you is extremely useful.
Yeah.
He gives you like extra breathing time underwater,
Mhm.
and you get like a faster swim speed.
Yeah.
The game would be so much more annoying without that. Like so much
Right.
more annoying.
Another thing I'll say as we're starting actual talking about the gameplay here,
Yeah,
the swimming I think controls a lot better.
So
in
that was
this
so
one.
much better. Yeah, it's still not like perfect, but it works the way you would want it to.
Yeah, they definitely fine tuned that for this one.
Except the stupid torpedo thing.
I
Torpedo Kazooie sucks.
missed with that a lot.
Well,
She's
it's
so
because-
fast and the turns are so tight.
Yeah, well, and because your normal swimming controls are regular, like up is up and down is down, and then for no reason, Torpedo
Yeah.
Kazooie is inverted. And it's
Yeah.
like, how am I supposed to be able to like switch my brain back and forth between these two things when I only have to use this power like 4 times in the entire game?
The amount of times that I fired that, and we are getting ahead of ourselves because that doesn't even come until later. But the amount of times that I fired the Torpedo Kazooie and like hit the target but didn't hit it dead on,
Right, and so
like
it
she
just
just
like
kind of
doesn't
like
break.
scooted off to the side and hit the wall. Just like, well,
Genuinely annoying.
that was a wasted. Because it was like 5 red feathers every time you fired her, something like that, 5 or 10,
Something.
something stupid.
By then I had the like double feathers thing though, so I didn't really
Yeah.
feel it.
Yeah.
But yeah, not a whole lot to say about Spiral Mountain outside of that.
Then we enter our actual real hub world.
The Isle of Hags.
Yeah.
And I have a bone to pick with this. Remember in the first one of these when we were talking about Kazooie, we were talking about how like the second half of was it Grunty's Lair
Yeah.
gets like a little confusing to find your way around in.
Sure, the
For
more you
me-
unlock.
For me,
Yeah.
Isle of Hags, whole thing is confusing to find your way around. If I didn't have those fast travel points, I would be lost.
Little bit. I definitely
Constantly.
didn't have my footing on exactly where everything was until well into it. Because there was a point where I don't remember why. I just wanted to like go back to Bottle's house. I think I just
Right.
wanted to like show my brother or something, like, oh look, the Bottle's mourning family or whatever. They don't even know he's there.
Right,
But
right.
like, I just waddled around for like 10 minutes, being like, where the hell is this house? And then I found the sign pointing into the cave.
It's just tough. I don't really care for the Isle of Hags, and I also don't really care for the Jinjo village, which is like part of it, I guess, because I love a visible collection in a game like this, right? I love
Yeah.
Arkham Knight. Whenever you're taking people out and you can like see them in the prison, it's one of my favorite things. I love
That's
like
the ultimate example.
Yeah,
I
I
think,
like,
to me in
um,
modern gaming.
like Scooby Doo Night of 100 Frights also does basically the same thing. I love that, but I feel like they don't do it well here. It's because you collect all the Jinjos and they go back to their specifically colored home, but they're not
Yeah.
like they're just standing there. I think it would be so much more impactful if they were like out about in the town, like doing anything. If it like opened a store or something, or like
Yeah.
even if they were just like practicing for the kickball game that they apparently have a rivalry with the Bottles family over, or like anything like that, where they weren't just like standing in their house and going wahoo. Like there would be something for me to
I-
feel better about.
I do very much feel like the stuff that's actually important in this first area, we could have consolidated into the very next area with the Jiggy Wiggy Temple.
Yeah,
I feel like we could have put it all in the same thing instead of 2 separate ones. And part of my brain, like, I kept confusing, like, my brain thought it was the same area, so I would
Mhm.
like travel to one spot and be like, no, Jiggy Wiggy's not here, he's over there. So I'd have to travel back.
because I almost go the opposite direction with it, even where I think it's so weird that we start this game with Spiral Mountain being destroyed, and then we're finding all these people and like rescuing them from different worlds and stuff. But we're not like rebuilding Spiral Mountain and like having people move in there. Like, it's so weird to me that the King of Jinjos is just like hanging out in the Isle of Hags, and you can't be like, "Hey, we're rescuing you. Why don't you come hang out in Spiral Mountain with us?" Or why is Honey not at Spiral Mountain? Or like, why can you not bring Cheeto down out of that cave and give him like a little house or something, right? Like,
Sure. Like,
I
as
feel
you
like a modern game
discover,
would have done exactly that, where like you would have turned Spiral Mountain into your like home base.
yeah. Is that too much to ask for this N64 game, though?
It might be because so I read a lot of reviews for Tooie, and spoilers, they're very positive. It has like a 90 on Metacritic.
Yeah. So I feel like I have to keep defending myself or whatever. Me saying I don't like this game, I don't want to like people to not like this game.
No,
like,
but I am
think
surprised
there's
by how much
stuff
they seem to like it. But my point being, like, the reviews are extremely high for this, and a lot of what they say about it is like, oh, it's such an ambitious game, it does so much. So I have to assume, even though I don't really remember, that maybe that is asking too much for a game from the N64. And so like, I'm not mad about it. Like, I won't take points out of the
right.
review score for it. But I think if this was a game that was made even like a couple years later, I'd be genuinely mad that it wasn't something like that. Especially because like that one Grey Jinjo house is just destroyed, and presumably all of the Grey Jinjos were dead. And it's not, you can't just be like, hey, why don't you guys come on over to Spiral Mountain and we can just like be friends and hang out here. I don't know. And then as you said, like, you get Jiggy Wiggy. I do prefer this version of opening the worlds where you like go back to the temple and you do a little puzzle, because I think that makes more sense as to like why you're collecting puzzle pieces. Is it's like, I have to do this puzzle mini game to unlock the next world, as opposed to just like, I have to find this thing and then just like throw the puzzle pieces overhanded at it until it goes away. So I do actually think that is something that's genuinely better.
It is. I agree. It is better. When I first started doing it, I was like, "Uh-oh, this is gonna get annoying, isn't it?" It
I
never
worried about
got
it too.
undoable though. Like, I don't think I ever failed a puzzle. It's one of those things where it's just like, you see like, oh, put in 3 or 4 pieces, and you see that timer, and you're like, this is gonna get progressively harder and
You're
harder
like,
and harder,
oh.
and it does. But again, it's not
It
to the
stays
point of
fair.
frustration. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're able to just keep doing it.
Because they don't add that one. There's like a added mechanic in the last one where they're like, and now you have to rotate the pieces. And I was like, oh.
Yeah, this one's bonus and
Yeah.
whatever. They make a point to tell you, like, just before you do this really big pain in the ass thing, you're not gonna get anything.
Yeah, this is just to see if you can.
And I was like, okay, thanks, bye.
All right, see ya. But yeah, so the first proper world then is we go to the Mayhem Temple, which is presumably Maya and Mayhem, which is, I guess, I don't know. It's weird to me because I don't think it really lives up to that world, to that name. Like, I don't think there's anything particularly like chaotic going on in it. This is to me like probably the most boring world, which is fair. It's the first one, but
Now, so this world, the entire time I was playing it, reminded me of a certain other game that came out way after this. This is basically, I mean, the same exact vibes of the first world from Ukulele. Like, it's all I could think of.
This world, like, I don't think is bad necessarily, but I do think it's like just kind of boring for me. It feels very empty and like really spread out, which is something that I'll probably be saying for a couple of the worlds.
I think about all of the worlds for me. Maybe not. I think the last 3 worlds beat the empty allegations.
Sure.
Because they're all pretty compact in like every room has a thing.
Yeah.
But the first half of this game, at least, there's like big open middle sections that are just there to be big.
Well, and one of the things that I think causes that is that in Tooie, for some reason, the notes are in like groups. Like, you pick them up in what, groups of 5 or 20 or something. Like,
it's groups of 5, and then there's one big
treble
note that's
clef.
20.
Yeah. And I think that is really hurtful to the game in a number of ways, really, because number one, like, those are the primary collectibles of the first game, and you're kind of throwing those away. Then on top of that, the notes like acted as like a guidepost of like, have I been there? Do I need to go? Like, where should I go? Like, a lot of the time in Kazooie, I would find Jiggies or Jinjos or whatever, because it'd be like, oh, there's still notes up there. I haven't gone up there.
Yeah.
Right.
There's even certain parts later in this game, like in the 8th world, where It's just like, oh, I haven't been up there yet because I see one note thing sticking around. But again, if there's
Yeah.
like a line of 3 or 4 notes, that definitely points you in a direction.
It's easier
better.
to see for sure. It's like
Exactly.
it's literally like a drawing a line of like you need to go here, you need to go there. So I think that's a poor choice. I also think it adds to the fact of making it feel a little empty because they haven't
Yeah.
replaced those with like more collectibles. Like you have the same, I think, pretty much the same number of collectibles between this and Kazooie, with the exception of you pick up the notes in bulk.
They add the Cheeto pages.
The Cheeto pages and the Globos, but
Yeah,
there's only like 2 of
but
those.
that's the Globos don't count because like
Yeah.
they make a point to even tell you like Globos are always around or very close to the people you need to give them to,
Right.
and there's 2 in each world, so that's almost like a non-change. Like it doesn't matter.
Yeah. I will also say I think the enemies in this world are really annoying because of the noise they make. The like cat noise when they attack you is
Oh.
super annoying, and it annoyed me
Yeah.
like the whole time. Especially whenever I had to go back, because this is the world where the like place to enter the Cheeto cheats
Put in the
is.
cheats.
And for some
Yeah.
reason, the room that you go into has 2 enemies in it, and because in this game they make the dumbass decision to have enemies respawn after like 15 seconds.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
They're respawning constantly.
Let's talk about respawning enemies.
I hate it.
The time it in Banjo Kazooie, and I'm gonna get called soft for this, but
Yeah.
I don't care. In Banjo Kazooie, you're looking around like, where do I need to go? Oh, there's an enemy here. Let me kill it really quick.
Right.
Okay, now I can survey my area.
Now I can look around.
In this game, especially later, like when you get to World 8, forget about it.
Yeah.
But in this game, if you're trying to look around, you're like, okay, kill this enemy, kill the enemy next to him, kill that other enemy, because there's always a shit ton of enemies together.
Right.
Okay, now I can go into first person, look around for a second. By the time you're in first person, they're already back.
Yeah, because it's having them respawn isn't too big of a deal, I guess, in general. Because they do
No.
respawn in Kazooie. It's just you have to leave and come back, right? Like if you walk
Yeah.
into a different room and come back, they'll be back. But
Yeah.
having it where I don't know the exact number. I think it might literally be like 10 or 15 seconds and they're back. It's way too fast. You don't have time. Like if you clear out a room, you will not finish whatever thing you had to do in that room to get the Jinjo or puzzle piece or whatever before they have respawned twice.
Like if you using Mayhem Temple as an example, if you like take out the dart shooting like heads
Yeah.
and then you go
Those
into
especially
a
should stay
temple,
dead.
if you go into a temple and then come back and the dart head is back, that's fine.
Sure.
But the fact that you like kill it and you're like, all right, now I can stand here for a second, catch my breath, and then it just comes back.
It just comes back.
And then it shoots you again. Not like the game wants you to take a second to catch your breath, because if you set your controller down for more than 2 seconds, Kazooie's already smacking you in the head.
I hate that. She did that in Kazooie too, but I hate that.
She does it a lot faster in this one.
Maybe that's possible,
Or a lot more
maybe I was just like
frequently.
more annoyed already in general, and so it annoyed me more.
I don't know.
But yeah, because it's the other side of it is like they also make it a little bit easier where like you don't have limited lives anymore. Like you don't have to go and collect the little
Yeah.
statues to do that. So if you do die,
There-
it's like not that big of a deal.
There is no game over in this
yeah.
version.
So like maybe that's how they balanced it. Is they're like we don't really want them to have to collect like extra lives and do that. So to
Sure.
balance that out, we'll make it annoying. But what I would say that was the wrong choice.
That is fair. But that does bring up another good point about how you're talking about there's the world's emptier. They give you less notes to collect. Sure, there's Cheeto pages and the Globos, but there's no more Ekum Bokum tokens.
No Ecombokums.
There's no more 1-ups. There's significantly less to collect.
Yeah, well, and you collect
Yeah, as we
eggs and
expand
feathers and
the
stuff in
worlds.
bulk too. So
As well. And you have to time it because you need to
'cause they, like,
remember which one
rotate.
you need at the moment. I don't like that.
No,
I
me
mean, I
neither.
guess I think
It's better than being like I need some clockwork eggs and all I can
You
find
have
is
to go
grenade
find them.
eggs. Like
Yeah,
it is better than that, but yeah.
that's true. I'm wondering though, would I have preferred like you get a clutch of eggs and it just gives you like +5 of each one, or +5 of most and then 1 clockwork one?
Or even if it was just like it only rotates ones that you aren't already full on. I mean,
Yeah,
that would be hard to do maybe
I
on
don't know.
on the 60
Yeah,
64. But
yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know. My Hem Temple has like a lot of stuff to do, and I genuinely think that it might be like some of the best use cases for some of the new things. Like, I think this is the best use of the like new first person shooter like Doom mode.
Yeah,
I
that is
think
also what I called it. I said we're playing Doom
we're
now.
playing Doom now. But I think this is the best use of the Doom section because it comes a little bit as a surprise because you don't know that it's going to happen already. Because I do think
Yeah.
maybe it gets overused a little bit by the end of the game.
Yeah,
But I think it's cool that like we're in this zone. We're not. I don't remember if it's timed, but it's like a very generous timer. You just have to go and like find the little collectibles, and then depending on how many you get, you can either open the sacred chamber or the really sacred chamber, which is cute.
yeah.
And then there's a boss fight at the end with Target Zan, and I think truly this is like. It feels like this is why they came up with the mechanic, and then they were like, we should probably put this other places just to like justify having made it.
Yeah, they don't use this as
Well,
much as you'd think.
They use it. They use it not a lot, but they use it. I think enough times. It's just that I think it's diminishing returns every time they do.
There's one in this first world, and there's one in the next world.
Yeah. So there's this one. There's the one where you have to like stab the dynamite.
Yeah,
There's one where you are shooting the poop off the walls.
yeah,
There's one where, I mean, if we're counting like inside Chompasaur where you're like shooting the germs in first person, then there's that.
okay.
There's
yeah.
a couple of those actually where you're doing that. Yeah, I think you do that in the like inside the trash can too, maybe.
There's
In
one.
8.
There's one or two where it's just like stand in a circle or spin around in a circle and
until
shoot.
you win. Yeah.
But like the
There's a lot
specific
of
like
those.
little Doom like styled like
Where it's like a
maze you have to
proper
run
like
through.
yeah. You're right. I think
Yeah,
there's only
they
like 3 of
didn't.
those.
They didn't do it as much as you thought, and it kind of like sets you up to think like there's gonna be one in each world, which I guess I'm glad there wasn't because it did get annoying, especially in the one in World 2 where it's easy to mess up and the timer is not as generous as if I don't think there was a timer in this first one.
I can't remember. Yeah.
I don't believe there was because you're just going around trying to unlock the 2 doors. But both the other times you do it, it's exactly what you're saying. Like, we came up with this idea, but now we have to use it more than once. So
to
they
justify
just
that
put
we
you in a
did this.
thing and say, find and shoot the stuff, and here's a timer, go.
Yeah.
Whereas, yeah, in this first one, you go through and you unlock the doors and you fight a boss fight. I think that's probably the coolest part of this first level. And I gotta say, if I had to pick something that I think this game did cool, it would be that every world has a boss fight. Now, some of them are a pain in the ass, but I do think it's neat. We get boss
Proper boss
designs,
fights.
little boss levels. I like that. I'm gonna give that a thumbs up.
A lot of the other things you do in this world are just like, God, I mean, what is it? So you get the Stony transformation, so you can go and play kickball.
Yeah, kickball's fine.
Kickball's fine this time.
It's cute. I'll say it's cute.
You gotta like sneak by that one snake. Like the jiggies in this world are like, I think decent. It's just like not a super great use of it. I guess at some point we should probably address the elephant in the room, which is that now you play as Mumbo because Humba Wumba is around to transform you.
Yeah, Wumba. It's your typical, like, if we had thought about this for more than 2 seconds back in this era, we would have thought, should we put this in there?
Yeah,
I don't know.
because she's just like a pretty
Rare is
stereotypical.
a British team,
Yeah.
so
She's a
they
pretty
made-
stereotypical like Native American woman. Her name is Humba Wumba, which I think is supposed to be a joke about her being hot.
maybe.
I don't know. I think it gets a pass because of the time period, but it is one of those things where you look at it and you're like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
It is weird to me that she's just a woman also. Like everyone else is a weird creature or like a witch at least, and then she is
Yeah.
just a Native American woman, and that almost also feels like a commentary of like, are you saying that because everyone else in this is like a creature and not human, that she is also not human because she's Native American? Like there's something to unpack there, and I don't think that's what Rare was saying.
No,
but
certainly
it
not.
sets a weird
I think
precedent.
it's what they're saying, and this isn't great either. What they're saying is we need someone who can do magic,
Yeah.
and who does magic?
N-
Native
yeah,
American people.
Sure.
It's like, well, okay.
Yeah, they're like, we already did the
2000s.
Shrunken Head Shaman guy, so we gotta. Who's the
It's
next
not.
one?
It's not malicious.
No, no,
It's
no, no.
just. It's just dated not very
yeah,
well.
it's a product of its time for sure.
Yeah.
Apparently, Mayahem Temple, as well as the second world, Glitter Gulch Mine, were actually originally planned for the first game, and they just like ran out of time.
That's interesting because Glitter Gulch Mine, I can see Glitter Gulch Mine is different enough from everything else in the first game.
Yeah. Do you want to
Where,
just jump to
like-
Glitter Gulch, by the way? I think we're pretty much done.
Yeah,
with
we're
Mayhem.
about done with Mayhem.
Yeah, I don't think there's much anyways to
Anyways.
say about it.
We talked about the snake. We it's the first example of we get a little preview of an upcoming world.
Right. Yeah. Which confused the hell out of me, by the way, because you go to the
Yeah.
top of this one temple, for people who don't know, I guess, and it's like, oh, all of a sudden there's cave people and a dinosaur up here, and I'm like, there's this gate I can't open, and I talked to you about it like 2 days later, and you're like, oh, that's a later world, you can just leave, and I was like, wait, what? Like they're
Yeah.
connected? And you're like,
Yeah,
sort of.
I think what I said was we're playing the real Dark Souls now.
We're playing the real Dark Souls now,
Everything's
your
everything's
shortcuts.
connected. But yeah, so going into Glitter Gulch Mine, I'm 50-50 on Glitter Gulch Mine's design. I
Yeah.
think it's cool-ish. Like I like the idea of like, oh, we're all prospectors and we got the TNT down here and here's all the I think it's neat. It's a different enough design of a world from anything we've seen before, which is why I'm saying like I can understand this going into Kazooie if
Yeah.
they had time. But Mayhem Temple, it's just like this is you start up Mayhem Temple and you're like, okay, this is this game's version of Mumbo Mountain.
Yeah.
Like it's not you put that in as well. It's just like, why are we doing this?
Yeah, I think
make any
maybe
sense.
it was more like we had an idea to do a Mayan world, and then by the time they got to Tui, it was like they like I don't. It very clearly couldn't have been like 1-to-1 the same
Right.
level, but
Fair enough.
I think maybe they just meant like we're gonna do a Mayan one and we're gonna do a Mayan
A
one.
temple,
Mayan
a temple
and
world.
Mayan.
They probably, yeah. Now that you say that, they probably meant more of like the inside the temple type stuff than the
Yeah.
actual grassy overworld.
I could see that. That would make
But,
more sense to me.
But yeah, so Glitter Gulch Mine, I kind of like the vibe, but the
I do
overall
too.
design, I feel like it doesn't help the game beat confusing level design allegations.
No, this to me may have been among the worst as far as that's concerned, just because I feel like this was one of the worlds that I had the most like, and now I have to walk back to Wampa so you can turn me into the thing so that I can go and blow up the
Yeah.
thing so that I can, and then I have to go and change back into Banjo and then go to Mumbo so that I can get Mumbo so that he can go into the hole that I just made for the thing so that I can blow up the, and it's like,
Yeah.
there's so much just like walking honestly between like these different characters that you have to
Yeah.
interact with to get the ability to use the power you need to do the 1 second of gameplay to open this door.
You know what? You just reminded me of something I was going to say a second ago. Going back to the notes being in little clumps,
Yeah.
and all the eggs being in little clumps. So you mentioned at the top of this episode, one of the games that came out in between Kazooie and Tui was DK64.
Right, which is egregious for collectibles
which-
apparently.
Yeah, so you got to wonder, well, number one, were people complaining about 100 notes per level the first game? I don't feel like they were, but whatever. But number two, did they get feedback on Donkey Kong be like, this is too fucking
This
much?
is too much.
And then,
Yeah, we have to
so
rein
then
this in.
they clumped some of the notes together and etc.
Honestly, I could definitely see that being the case. DK64 was the year before this, so maybe that's also why the worlds feel more empty. Is like maybe they had the notes are scattered around more before, and then they were like,
They
all right,
had
we
more
gotta condense this. We got to make this
collectibles.
less. Yeah, honestly, I wouldn't have even been surprised if like there were Mumbo specific collectibles.
Yeah, I
Just,
was
like,
gonna say,
looking at,
because
like the N60, like the Donkey Kong 64
that's
way of doing
another
it.
thing about Donkey Kong 64 is
Yeah.
the whole bananas. Like you can only get these bananas as Donkey Kong. You got to
You
come
might
back
be
to
onto
Diddy to
something
get
there.
these ones. You got to get et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And
I do think if that was the case, we probably would have heard about it. But it's a really good theory for sure.
Yeah.
Like I wouldn't be
Maybe-
surprised.
maybe it's something like, and this is all just speculative, but
Yeah, of
maybe
course.
they built the level designs, but before they actually instituted Mumbo collectibles, then they got the feedback and they're like, well, we're just not going to do that now. So like it never made
Right.
it that far into production or something. But
If so, I mean, good on them to respond so quickly. You know. 'Cause
Yeah,
it
I
would have
mean,
been
it's-
probably even more annoying to.
it's
have all
important to
that.
listen to feedback, I guess, and not
Yeah.
double down on, well, we're going to give you even more collectibles.
Yeah.
But it doesn't fix the empty world problem.
No. This one, I think, also maybe doesn't utilize the idea of its world as well as some of the other worlds. Where, to be fair, it's just a mine. Like I don't know how much you can
Yeah.
do with that.
I think it has the
Yeah.
worst transformation of any of the worlds. I think the plunger is boring and lame.
Yeah.
It also really annoyed me because it's like, oh, you take it's a TNT plunger, not like a toilet plunger, and you have to take it to these barrels that have like a wick on them so you can blow them up. But at that point, I've got fire eggs, and I'm like, why can I not just light the wicks on these TNT barrels with the fire eggs? Like, why are we making this more complicated than it needs to be?
Also, if you try to ignite yourself not connected to one of those fuses,
It hurts you.
It just your attack hurts you,
Ugh.
and it's just like, oh man.
It's annoying. It's annoying. And this also has the one where Bullion Bill, Prospector Bill, whatever, it's like in his house, and he's like,
Yeah.
I need you to go and stab some dynamite. Don't shoot him because they'll explode, and then you'll have to play the game again. That one
Yep.
for me, I think, is probably the most annoying of the Doom sections because you have to find them in a very tight times frame.
I think it's the one I failed the most, and yeah, it all came down to the timer.
Yeah.
Like I had 2 or 1 guy left to find, and then the time went up, and I had to start all over. It was
I ended
really
up having
irritating.
to look up a guide for it because I was just like, I was so frustrated by like the third loss that I was like, I'm just not going to do it. I'm just going to look up what the like optimal path to do it is, and I'm just going to be done.
Yeah, I didn't do that for this one, but by the time we get to the one that's in Grunty Industries,
Oh yeah.
I was like, no, I'm not dealing with it again. I'm just gonna do what you just said. And yeah, bad gamer. I'm a bad gamer. I know.
It's if I'm not having fun with the game, I will find ways to get around the annoyance, and I don't think that
Sure.
makes me a bad gamer, or
Sure,
you a
why
bad
not?
gamer for that matter.
No, I am a bad gamer. though.
This is okay. This is also the world that introduces Chuffy the train. So we get a
Yeah,
third form of
second-
fast travel, and it's a train
second
called
boss
Chuffy,
fight.
where you also have to fight Old King Cole, which I think might be the easiest and maybe lamest boss fight in the game.
Sure, lamest as far as the fight itself. I
Yeah.
think the design is neat.
He's fine. He's just like a little potato who's on fire.
I think well, the idea of that you're fighting this big like puff of smoke or whatever inside the
yeah.
engine of a train.
That is neat, and he becomes kind of your friend, so that's cool.
He does become
I love enemies to friends. I think that's a fun gimmick.
he joins the team.
It does, however, unfortunately introduce Canary Mary.
Oh boy, Canary Mary. All right, so yes, we saw Canary Mary. We screamed. That's something I
didn't
need to
know.
work on for myself. Okay, that's
did.
personal prejudice.
She looks like a witch.
It's quite a design choice, isn't it?
I wish I had left her in the cage. Genuinely.
Well, if I had known what she had in store for us, I would have
Yeah.
left her in the cage.
I will say, these races I didn't have a problem with. Strictly,
In this
like,
world, no.
No,
Yeah.
these were fine. I beat both of these my first try. Like, it
So
was
Canary,
not tough.
Canary Mary, you have to free her from her.
The
It's
joke
a,
is
it's
that
a
she's
fun,
a canary in a coal mine.
Yeah, canary in a coal mine, and
Yeah.
she was there, and all the gas is very clearly all the green, like noxious gas
Fart
is
gas.
like everyone left because killing her, and they're like, well, we'll go be safe. It's a funny bit when you first find her.
Do
I do
you
like
think-
that.
Okay,
Yeah.
hear me out. It's Glitter Gulch Mine. Prospector Bill is the only miner that we see.
Yeah.
Presumably, he at least works there or worked there. Maybe it's his mine.
hmm
Did he leave Canary Mary in that cage?
I think it's well, okay. Whether or not he left her in the cage, that's just speculation. But he knows she's in there.
He does. 100%.
Like he's specifically not letting her out. So
He knows that she's awful.
yeah, it's true. The idea of the race just being mash a button.
Yeah.
Again, it was not. It
It's a
was very
product of the
doable
time.
down here. It wasn't like
Yeah.
an issue down here. As a matter of fact, it was so not an issue in this world that when the race started, I don't remember. She must have said like, "Here's how you do the cart," and I wasn't paying attention. I looked down, looked at my phone, whatever. Being a super millennial, checking Twitter or whatever. And then the race started, and I was like, "What do I do? What do I do?" And I started tapping all the buttons, like, "Well, I'm not going, I'm not going, I'm not going." She had like a 10-second head start on me, and I still beat her. That's how fine and easy the race is down here. It's not. It doesn't rubber band. Like you can
It probably does,
smoke
but
her
like just
ass.
not that bad.
I legitimately don't think it does in this game. I think
Her second races do. The second set absolutely rubber bands.
maybe in the sense of like if you get too far ahead of her.
Yeah.
Either way, yeah, I smoked her down here, and then she was
Absolutely
like, "All right, And then she does the thing that Gobi did, where he in the last game, where he's like, "I'm going to another world," and you're like,
I'll
"Okay,
see
we'll
you
see
later."
this. We'll see this monstrosity later." Little did we know just how much trouble she had in store for us.
Then that brings us to the third world, which is one that I feel like I really like the idea of.
This one should be my favorite, and it's not.
Witchy World.
Which is
It is
this
a theme
world's
park
fault.
themed world. It should be great, and there's a lot of really good ideas in it, but instead it kind of becomes just one of the more annoying ones, I think.
Yeah.
It's like it's so ambitious, but it's exactly what you said at the beginning. Like they have a lot of really good ideas and they just don't capitalize on any of them in a way that feels good.
It's also what I would say is the second biggest perpetrator of just big empty hub and all the stuff is around the side.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, that's the best way to describe this world, really, is there's the tent in the middle that has the Mr. Patch boss fight, and then it's literally just Space World is over there, and it's like one room where there's some space stuff.
Yeah.
And it's like Wild West World is over there, and it's the same thing.
The most memorable part of this world is the guy coughing on all the cheeseburgers.
Big Al. Yeah, I love him.
Yeah.
It's so a couple of questions here. Number one, so in the like main tent is a gorilla or whatever called Conga. Is it the same Conga?
Yeah,
from the
that's
first
Conga.
game?
Matter of fact,
when got employed.
Spoilers for later. In the quiz thing, one of the questions I got was which character from Banjo Kazooie shows up in
Oh,
Witchy
cool.
World.
Cool.
Yeah.
Because there's a couple returns in this one. We get Conga back. Gobi shows up. He's in prison. He's got a beard. He's like,
I like the beard.
I've been in jail for 2 years. I've never made it to the lava world that got cut from the first game, which is cute. It's a cute little return. And then and we also get Mrs. Boggy and the 3 kids who
Yeah.
are awful in this. Not as characters, I guess, but like as
They're
people.
little brats now. Yeah, if these kids acted this snotty and bratty, I guess they did because they were crying because they didn't get presents.
Yeah, but like that's more
I was
understandable.
assuming they were crying because they were left home alone and it's Christmas.
Right,
They
because their
were
dad is the
sad.
worst dad ever, and their
But
mom.
no,
as it turns
now
out,
they're
not great
being
either.
now they're being little shitheads in a theme park and they won't
Yeah.
return to their moms. One's like, "Bring me a burger," one's like, "Bring me fries," and the other one just says, "I'm not going." And legitimately, I don't know the way to solve that. How did you discover that?
Someone had told me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because I didn't know, but someone had. I
Okay.
think maybe Steven had told me. It was just like
Must
you
have
gotta
been
beat that kid.
because I hit him on accident.
You visited
I was-
violence on a child.
I was no, it's not like I was like fuck you kid and just hit
Right.
him. No, I was like doing something like I entered the room and just in a moment of ADD rolled or something, or I was trying to get something else. No, I just bumped into him on accident. He was like, "Okay, sorry, I'll go," and I was like, "Oh, that's how you do that."
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, I don't know. Those kids really annoy me. Particularly Groggy, who's the big one.
The fat one.
Who you have to like.
We'll
you
say it,
feed
he's
him.
fat.
You feed him a burger, and then he's like, "I'm too tired to move now. You gotta come back like
I
2 worlds
feel
from
that.
now with a superpower that you can pick my fat ass up and take me back to my
That's
mom."
That's me coded. I would do
And then
that.
you
yeah.
get him back to his mom, and he's like, "That bear fed me a burger, and I didn't want it." It's like, what?
Ooh, should have hit all 3 kids.
Honestly, I guess Soggy's fine. You just give her some fries, and she's like, "I'm out of here."
Where were they for you? I think they can
It's-
be placed randomly.
It's random, yeah. For me, the kid you have to beat was in like the space zone, like right before the Dodgem game. The girl
bumper cars
was
thing?
in,
Yeah.
The girl was in. God, I don't remember where she was.
So for me, the one you have to hit was in the same spot before the bumper cars room. The fat one was right outside of that area, hidden around a corner, legitimately just stashed in a dark corner.
Right.
And then the one that you give the fries to was inside the room with the big planet thing you have to climb.
Oh yeah, that was the hardest Jinjo for me to get in this world. Was the dumb Saturn climb thing. I fell off that planet probably 3 times, and you take like so much fall damage.
Oh, you more or less die just by
Yeah.
falling from the
If
top.
you fall twice, you die. Yeah.
Yeah, that one took me a couple tries. I think the hardest one for me in this one was the UFO shooter minigame.
Yeah, you were talking to me about how you hate that.
Yeah, I don't know how much of an easier time you had with that, but it took like about 10 tries, and each run is like 2.5 minutes or something like that.
Very long.
And it's frustrating, very frustrating. But hey, I suck at video games. I'm a bad gamer, like I said. So.
Like, is it? I mean, I did do it on my first try, but only because I'm MLG. No, this world
bullshit.
introduces two of my least favorite things in this game, though, unfortunately, which is it introduces Minjos, the evil Jinjos that attack you.
Uh-huh.
I hate that. I hate the idea of like, because it's just like the mimic gimmick, which is fine.
Yeah.
But I guess because the game is already so tedious, like throwing that in there also is just like it's just like twisting the knife.
Just a punch to the dick.
Yeah,
Is what it is.
so I hate that, and it only gets more annoying as the game goes on. Really.
Yeah, where there are equal amount or maybe even more Minjos per level than there are actual Jinjos.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. And then it also introduces the saucer game is a good example of it. Is the like, hey, I got a cool mini game for you. Hit the green one, it's worth 3 points. Hit the blue one, it's worth 2 points. Hit the red one, it's worth 1 point. And there's like 30 of those.
That repeats itself 1 to 2 times per world from
this point
here on out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's irritating. It really is because in this world alone, you've got jump through the hoops as Kazooie, which is just that. You've got shoot the balloons as Banjo and Kazooie. You've got the dodge 'em game where you have to collect the twinklies, and that's the same thing really. Then you've got the UFO saucer thing. There's like 4 in this world by himself.
Yeah.
Where it's just like, and they feel the need to tell you every time.
I guess if the idea there is you're at a carnival, these are carnival games, I get it, but we get them in every world from here on out anyways.
Yeah.
So it doesn't really feel like carnival games. I don't feel like I'm having fun. Every time we got like the green ones are worth 3 points. Every time I saw that come up, from like the whole game after this world, I would roll my eyes like this again, but I would also say, well, at least I know this is easy. Like at least this is at least I'm gonna do this on the first try.
Yeah, that's absolutely fair. Man, some other things about this world that annoyed me. I mentioned it before. I think this is the worst boss fight. I think the Mr. Patch boss fight is awful. Like having to fly and then you shoot him, and every time you hit him, he gets a little bit smaller, and so it gets a little bit harder to shoot the next spot. And he's also shooting like beach balls at you that seem to track, so you like can't really dodge them super well because you're in the air anyway. You can't land because there's like the hand that comes up and grabs you. Like it's so annoying. I hate this fight.
I think this is the maybe the dragons later.
Dragons aren't great.
Money,
the dragons aren't bad because of their fight though. They're bad because of. I mean, we'll get to it.
Yeah, we will get to it. I think this is the one that I found the hardest throughout the whatever, and I don't even know if I think I failed this one once and then got it on the second try, but the second try took a while because, like you said, I think the hand on the ground was the step too far for me.
Yes.
I was like, I'm already doing all this shit, and I'm launching the fucking eggs, and I'm hitting what seems to be the last patch on this guy, but it's not registering because the hitbox is too small or something. Like right on like his side, you know?
What eggs were you using? Because I was exclusively using the grenades.
Yeah. Well, because I think they do splash damage at least.
Because it feels like you have a better shot of hitting. I don't know if that's true, but that was my assumption. Even so, it was tough to actually be able to target those things because shooting in this game is awful. If it's not in the Doom sections, it's awful because it's constantly pulling the cursor back to the center of the screen.
Yeah.
It like you can't just aim normally. It's so I hate it. I genuinely hate it. There's so much about like the mechanics of this game that just maybe at the time they were fine because we didn't know better, but as a person playing it in 2024, I'm like, bro, just let me shoot the gun.
Oh, let me tell you, if they ever re-release this on like 3DS or some controller with like gyro,
like they put it on Switch or something,
this game and all these shooting mechanics would be so much easier. But again, imagine doing this I say imagine when more than half the people who give a shit have already done this. But imagine for this playthrough, we had actually done it on N64 with that controller. Again, this is around the time where like all the little things to make life harder started to stack up to be just a real slap to the nuts every world. It all started with this boss fight. I think as a boss fight design, I like it. Yeah, I like the big T-Rex in the tent.
here's another thing that irritates me about this world. Because one of the things that irritates me about the game in general is they introduce the two sister characters. They introduce Blobelda, the fat one, and Mingella, which they know exactly what they're doing. They're British.
Mingella shocked me.
They
I
knew.
screamed.
They knew what they were doing. They introduce those two characters right at the beginning, and then you don't see them again until the very end of the game where they don't do anything and die. Spoilers. I am shocked, genuinely shocked, that they are not bosses.
Periodically, they make you fight Klungo.
Yes.
You would have thought, and it's even weird, right? Because you fight Klungo right off the bat. It's the first thing you do.
Yeah.
You beat him, and then the joke, which I think it's a funny joke. Every time you fight him again, like he's got a black eye or he's more and more beat up. Like you're beating him up, and then Grunty yells at him and beats him up.
Yeah.
And how he's just getting sad and sad until he finally quits. But you fight him 3 times when you could have fought him once, and then you could have fought the second sister and then the third sister.
Well, and they have 2 Grunty themed worlds that they could put them as the bosses for, where Blobelda is this like slobbish carny who could have been in charge of Witchy World, and Mingella's like the smart one who's got a book and all that, who could be like in charge of the industry side at Grunty Industries.
Yeah,
like they feel like they're designed for these 2 worlds, and then they're not in them.
They only show up as a gimmick for the quiz at the end.
Yeah,
it's a bit
so
odd.
weird to me.
And I was thinking that while playing it, like when do they
matter? And the answer is they don't.
They don't. They don't. Did you go into the Grunty fortune telling tent at all?
I went in twice. Yeah, and she kicked my butt both times.
Both times.
Yeah.
I went in once and she gave me a hint that I didn't pay attention to.
Oh,
and I went in a second time and then she kicked my ass. Yeah.
I just assumed that she does that every time. So after the second time, I just didn't go in again.
Yeah. That's how this game treats you, isn't it?
Yeah. I was like, oh, okay, what a fun bit. Guess I'll leave now. Ugh. Anyway, so that's Witchy World. Then we had
my favorite.
Yeah. Then we had Jolly Roger's Lagoon, and when you said Witchy World should have been your favorite, this should have been my favorite. Right?
Yeah.
And I think, because when I first walked into it, I was like, oh my god, finally, this is the world. I'm going to love this. It's got this cute little pirate town and all the little different buildings. There's like a pawn shop. There's Captain Blubber's back, and I loved him from the first game, and he's like selling sea-doos or something. And then you've got the super duper like gay-coded frog, who I loved.
The frog is Roger, and then we got Captain, what's his name from
Blubber.
the other guy.
Oh, Captain Black Eye.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's back, and he's not drunk. He has seasickness.
When I said that, because he falls out of his chair and he's drinking his seltzer water or whatever, and I'm like, they absolutely had him drunk, and then somebody said,
this is a kid's game, actually.
we can't do that.
Yeah. But no, I love the idea of this world. For the first 5 minutes I was in it, I was like, hell yeah, this is the one. And then it just dropped the ball so hard for me.
Even the idea of you've got this beach town and then you swim deep enough and the other half of the world is Atlantis.
Yeah,
I think
really
that's
cool.
Really cool as well. Something about though seeing that big empty body of water right there.
Yeah,
just like there should be
something here.
A pirate ship there or something. There should be something. But there wasn't. It's just there. It just feels empty until you have to swim around and find the rest of the stuff. Now, this world also gives you the breathe underwater thing,
which is great.
And
I wish
again,
that it was a power up that you just had for all of the worlds. Even though I've never had a problem with drowning in this game, I wish it was just a thing where it was like you can just breathe underwater now.
And we talked about how the swimming in this game is much better.
Much better.
But I think even with that, the Atlantis thing just... Once you get down there and you're like, whoa, Atlantis, it's just not much to it.
No, well, and I'll tell you what really sucks about it, because we've already talked about part of it, is number one, those puffer fish that respawn every 10 seconds piss me off, because I'm trying to look around, because I'm like, all of these buildings underwater look like the same building. Like, I don't know which one I'm supposed to be going into right now or which one I've already been into. And so I'm panning around trying to figure it out, and the fish that I just killed 4 seconds ago is already back attacking me again.
Yeah,
and I'm like,
and it's not,
dude, stop.
You can't spin the camera around as fast as you can if you were on land.
No, It's just yeah, I don't know. That whole thing really annoyed me. There's so many like really good ideas here. I love the idea of like, oh, we have to go and find Davy Jones' locker. Haha, like it's a cute little joke. I love the Atlantis
Yeah.
thing. I love the, there's so much about this that on paper it's like this should be the best world. And maybe it honestly, this might still be my favorite world, but so much about it just like doesn't work the way I want it to, you know?
Yeah, that's a thing. Now we're talking about the 4th out of 8 worlds, and I don't have a clear-cut favorite.
I think for me it's got to be this one.
I mean, I
I'm
think
not happy about it though.
in the sense that, like, yeah, I'd like to go to the beach, or, oh, you know what? I think because there's a section, this town where there's no enemies,
Yeah.
you could just actually just walk around and
You just hang out. You can go to Jolly
whatever.
Roger's bar.
Yeah, sure. This one is my favorite, and also one of the cheats you can get is turning on the jukebox and listening to all the music throughout the game.
I think it's weird that
Sure.
that's like the last one, but sure.
I guess this one's my favorite.
Yeah.
But it's not like in Kazooie, it's just like, oh, Mad Monster Mansion, hands down. Like that one's my favorite.
This world also has a couple more of the like shoot the things the color things mini game. There's the like mine shooting thing that you do as the submarine transformation, which I also don't care for the submarine transformation.
You know what's
Mediocre.
silly about the submarine transformation? They clearly only made it for the boss fight.
Yeah. Lord Wu Fag Fag, who's apparently named after one of the devs, by the way. I guess there was a guy who like he was one of the engineers that was like fixing the bugs with the game, and I guess when he like was mad he would say Fag Fag, and when he solved one he'd go Woo, and I guess that's where his name comes from according to trivia.
Well, all right.
So there you go. He's named after that guy.
Just swear. You just swear, and because they're silly British people with silly British accents.
Look, they
it
got
sounds funny.
Mingella past the censors. They can do anything they want at this point.
Mingella. I'm not gonna get over that. Being the submarine, a submersible, if you will.
Yeah.
It has less punch when you've already made me breathe underwater.
100%. Yeah. It's just the only thing about it is it lets you shoot like super fast, and so it makes the Woo Fag Fag fight less annoying. Because otherwise
Makes it possible.
Yeah, well, because otherwise that fight is just the Mr. Patch fight, but like maybe less
Much
annoying.
slower.
Yeah,
Much slower.
is a good way to put it.
I stumbled in there as not the submarine first,
Same.
and then once realized it was the boss fight, I was like, "There's no way."
I died the first time very hard, and then went back as the submarine.
Yep.
Should we talk about the pigs?
The other lockers down there all have
Right.
silly names on them.
Those are all the developers' names.
One says G. Kirkhope.
Yep.
Yeah, it's fun. The pigs.
We gotta talk about the pigs. I hate them. I hate all three of them. There's the one that can't
Now-
swim. There's the one with 3 arms, and then there's
Mhm.
Chris.
Yeah, okay. Chris P. Bacon. Am I stupid? Was I supposed to struggle at this part so hard?
Here's the thing. I did too. So
Okay.
I'm with you.
Okay, because like,
I hate him so much. He's first of all taking pictures with a Game Boy camera, and he's like dropped down in this shark cage that apparently, and he's like, you need to protect me while I take pictures of these like glyphs on the wall or whatever. And
yeah,
he gets swarmed by these tiny little piranha shark guys. Even though he's in a cage, can't take one bite. One bite and he's
Yeah.
done. And then on top of that, he kept getting bit by ones that I just didn't even see. I'm looking at the cage, and I'm not seeing the fish that bit him.
the only way to do it, the only way to aim, is to go into first person, right? And which means you have to position yourself. Like, you just have to experiment and find like what's the right spot. This one pissed me. Now, like, I was mad at the UFO mini game, and I was mad at the T-Rex for a minute. I think this is where. Well, no, I was probably the maddest when we get to Grunty Industries, but we'll talk about
We'll
that.
get
But
there very soon.
this one angered me very much. Eventually, you survive the time, and you just spike your controller like a football in celebration. I don't know. It's just trial and error, and just praying, and making sure you have enough grenade eggs. I think by the time I did this, I had like the double eggs thing,
I did.
because I don't know.
I
know.
didn't get that until I think the next world, because I probably had enough Cheeto pages and just didn't go back and do it. The only other thing I have for this world that I want to mention is that this is where we get introduced to the alien family, is they've like sunk into the ocean, and you have to go down and power up their stuff.
Yeah.
And of course, there's a Minjo in their ship, the asshole.
Yeah. You know, Minjos wouldn't be that bad if you could just like roll into them and kill them.
Yeah,
But
if
you
they were
can't.
easy kills.
You can't because you roll into them and they like parry you and then they just keep running at you over and over. Like you could just keep like hitting them over and over again. You could do that for an hour.
I eventually just started shooting them with the grenades, but I think that
Shooting
was mostly
every
for me.
shooting every Jinjo you see just to check.
Yeah.
Because you compared it to the mimics.
Right.
I'm
Yeah.
assuming from Dark Souls would be like the example
Dark
to
Souls,
use.
it's just like a trope kind of in video games, right?
Yeah.
Because you could even be like, oh, it's like the Voltorbs in Pokemon, or like the mimic
Sure.
gimmick in RPGs and video games is
Yeah.
a long tested thing. It's just
Sure.
this one for me is I think more annoying than any of those.
Well, the reason I think of Dark Souls is because yes, you walk up to a chest and you hit it, and if it's a mimic, it stands up. But also, if you just look, there's a physical spot. You
You
look
can
at the
tell.
chain, and you're like, okay, it's curled, it's real, it's not curled, it's a mimic.
Mm-hmm.
But there's no way until you get to like the end of the game and you know like I've
Which
already
ones?
gotten all the yellow Jinjos.
Yeah.
That one's a piece of shit. Or if you like leave and come back and hey, that one's a different color now.
Yeah. Well, and also
Like that's the only way.
yeah, and also Dark Souls, another game where enemies respawn famously. Mimics don't respawn.
Oh yeah.
So you
That's
get
a
tricked
good
by it
point.
once, and they're like, "Ha, we got you," and then they're gone. The next world, I think, it's another one where it should have been good and wasn't, but I think for me might be in the running, if not for Grunty Industries, would have been in the running for like worst worlds. Pterodactyl Land. I don't care for this world. I think that it is another one that is way too big for its own good and involves a lot too much walking back and forth for transformations, particularly because the T-Rex has two different sizes. And there's only like two things that you have to do as the big T-Rex. There's like a button you have to step on, and then you have to roar at that guy, and that's it.
Yeah.
So you do all of that for like 30 seconds of gameplay as the big T-Rex that you actually need to do.
I think I hit my breaking point on this level at the point where you turn into the little T-Rex. Which I should mention, I saw the wigwam, right? And I saw the little mumbo thing outside of it. And I was like, oh, you make it big. And then I was like, okay, cool. Now it's in my brain, I was like, it's big enough for the T-Rex to get out. And that was it. But then
That
I saw
makes
the little
sense.
T-Rex doors, and I was like, oh, there's more.
Oh, little
there's-
little T-Rex and big T-Rex.
There's
Oh.
more. And then you turn into the little T-Rex, and this is where I hit my breaking point. Because there's the T-Rex doors, and there's like even a hint at one that says like, roar at it to open it. I'm like, okay. Turn to the T-Rex, and I hit X, the button to do things
Mhm.
on an Xbox controller, and nothing happens. And it's like, okay. And I pushed another button and another button. I was like, nothing's happening. I can't. What? How do you? What?
How roar?
What? And then you just stumble around long enough that you walk next to another dinosaur, which are enemies. But yeah, you're a dinosaur now, so it won't attack you because that's
Right.
a thing that happens in.
Even
it
though
even
you're
happens,
a T-Rex and it's like a Stegosaurus, and you should honestly be more likely to be enemies, but whatever.
I mean, the other termites don't attack termite Banjo in Banjo 1, so I guess there's precedent.
yeah.
But I didn't think of it. And then the Stegosaurus is like, hey, you're a T-Rex. This is how you roar. Why the f do I just need random enemy to tell me that? To unlock it!
Yeah, just let me roar. Like, I don't need someone to tell me how to shoot a missile as a submarine, and that's a lot more weird. Like, I'm a bear. I don't know how to work a submarine. I know how to roar, though.
I was very angry at that part.
It's pretty stupid. Yeah. I happened to just, like, stumble across that before it became an issue, but it is very stupid. Man, yeah, I don't know. This world, I don't care for this world. I think the idea of doing, like, a Jurassic Park world or whatever is really cool. I think that's great. But it's just one that they just don't do it well. They really don't. And it's got some really, really annoying stuff in it. Like, quite possibly the worst for backtracking, because there's the whole
Yeah.
it's not a Triceratops, it's like a Styracosaurus, I think, technically, because it doesn't have the horns. I'm a nerd. But like that, the mom that like needs you to get her 3 kids, and you do, and all 3 of them are annoying to fix, because you have to like, there's like a specific way that Mumbo has to get there to make the one big, and then you have to pick one of them up and take it to the train and take it back to a previous world so that you can make it not sick, and then there's one that you have to rescue from Witchy World and then bring on the train all the way there. Like, it's a
Yeah.
lot of work for all 3 of them.
Yeah.
And you still
yeah.
only get one reward. Like, you should at
Which-
least get two.
And when I got that reward,
It's
again,
one jiggy.
this is a me problem, right? And you'll notice I've said this a couple times while talking about this game. I wasn't paying attention when I sent the last kid in, right? And it automatically gives you the jiggy. It goes right into your inventory. It says at the top of the screen. And I wasn't paying attention, and I was like, "Hey, I sent the last kid." So I walked my ass all the way back over to him, and I'm like, "Where is it?" And he says, like, "All right, thanks for your help. Now leave before I hurt you." And it's like, excuse me, motherfucker.
Give me my jiggy, you dick.
He already gave it to me, to be fair, and I figured it out
Yeah.
fairly quickly. But
This is the world where I figured out that the jiggy clues existed. The
Yeah,
only reason I even knew to do half of the stuff in this world was because of that.
this is the world where I snapped and I said, I am going to progress to each world, find the jam jar moves,
Yeah.
and then double back.
Honestly, smart.
Because at that point, I'm like, okay, then I have all the moves, so I don't need to worry about that kind of thing. I can go back to worlds that I've had to leave things behind because I don't have the move already, and then I'll have all the worlds unlocked. So where if it turns out I need to do something in a later world, I can just do it, just clean up from there. So this is the one where I think I had like one jiggy on this world when I said it, and I moved on to the next one, and then said it, and then moved on to the next one.
Yeah. This world, honestly, from this point on, I was annoyed by the entire game. And so I was just like in a bad mood doing it. And I don't know if it's exclusively this world's fault, but like I said, this is the one that has the worst version of like you can't do that right now. Go become the other guy, or go get a power from another world, or whatever. And I was just like, I just want to play the game. Can we just do that, please? And it just got so annoying after a while.
It the further you progress in the game, like that irritants, like it stacks. You just get more and more angry, like, oh, of course I can't do that. Yeah, of course. Oh, but I can do the crispy bacon part. Of course I can do that. Let me go back and try that again. And the boss on this one was, I don't even remember how difficult the fight was. It's the pterodactyl
It's the
on the
Terry
top.
fight. Yeah, it's not
Yeah.
bad. I think it's honestly probably one of the easier fights. Getting to him is kind of annoying. I'll tell you, he's not for me the villain of this story. The villain of this world is the Stompasaur. I hate his ass. I hate his ass so
Right.
much.
Yeah.
That area sucks ass, and I hate it, and it was a bad choice for them to do. And I know why they did it, because Stompasaur is a callback to like that thing they were doing in Project Dreams that we talked about in the last one of these videos, where like, oh, occasionally a big dinosaur leg will just come and stomp on you if you're not moving fast enough, which like sounded like a lame idea there, and in practice, let me tell you, lame idea. Sorry, old rare, dumb idea.
Yeah, and it's not even in this. It's not you're not moving fast enough. It's I'm moving as fast as I can, and it's not enough.
Yeah, it's you either because you have to go across this area to get literally why the chicken crossed the road, just literally to get to the other side, because there's 3 buttons that you have to step on, one for Banjo, one for Kazooie, and one for both of them together. And you can't when you do it as Banjo and Kazooie, you could probably do it running between. There's like these little indents where the stomps have been, I guess, where you can jump in and like be safe from the next stomp. And you could probably do that as Banjo and Kazooie because you're pretty fast. But I couldn't, and so I just used the invulnerable feathers to get it to just walk across and do that. Then for Kazooie, it's not too bad. She's super fast, so she can just like bop 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 and get across. Banjo, I didn't know that he was going to get a power later, one world from now, where he could hop in his backpack and take a nap and heal up. So I was like, what the hell am I doing wrong? Because when it stomps on you, it always takes all but 1 health. Even if you only have 2, it'll take you down to 1 health, and then the second one will kill you if you're at 1. And I was just like, what am I doing wrong? Like, why can I not do this? Like, I'm going as fast as Banjo can go. What is the answer here? And I must have tried this like 10, 12 times before I was like, I don't care. You know what? I don't care. If I get to the video and I don't have one of the jiggies because of this, I will be okay. I will survive. Like,
See,
I was that annoyed with it.
That's where my system of saying fuck it and just getting all the moves paid off, because by the time I didn't even know that this existed, but I already had the Banjo sleeps in his backpack move.
Yeah. Ugh, I hated it. I hated this one Hated that section so bad.
Yeah.
And then you get to the other side as just Banjo, and the thing that it opens up for him is that you can go into a room that's in one of the later worlds and just pick up a Jiggy that's there. And I'm like, this is exactly what I don't like. Because if I had gotten to that world, which is Hailfire Peak, we'll get to it in a while, and I'd been like, where's this last Jiggy? And it's like, oh, you have to do a stupid ass thing in Pterodactyl Land to walk into a one room area that I don't even know if you can see from the other side of it to grab this Jiggy. I'd be like, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard in my life. Why did you do this?
There's a handful of those kinds of things, and I feel like they all start in the second half of the game. Like they started running out of ideas, and they wanted to make the worlds more interconnected or something.
Yeah.
But there's a handful of like you see a Jiggy behind a big like impenetrable pink glass wall, and what you're supposed to take from that is, I guess I'll find a way in there somehow.
I guess I'll come back
but
when
but
I have
but
a
not by
power.
looking for it.
Yeah.
Like you just will hopefully stumble upon that potentially in a different world, and it's terrible.
Yeah, I really, really hate it. It really
I
annoys me.
hate that. There's the part that I got really mad at, where, because you have to fight Terry, and then she'll be like, "Go find all my eggs," but there's an egg just sitting there,
Collect my
and you
pages.
know that Kazooie gets a move where it's just like sit on the egg and it'll hatch. So I went out of my way. I split up. I became Kazooie. I went over to the egg and I sat on it, and then the boss of the world yelled at me and said, "Don't sit on my egg."
Yeah.
It's like what that.
Not
That's
not
what
even
I'm supposed to do.
not even don't sit on my eggs. Don't sit on my eggs yet. He literally tells you like, I don't want it to hatch yet. And you're like, okay, so I've found the solution to your puzzle, but I am not allowed to do it yet
Gotta do
because I
something else
haven't
first.
spoken to you.
Yep.
I hate that. That's one of my least favorite things in video games.
The sins and the annoyance keep stacking, and then to make it all better, we get to go to Grunty Industries.
Yeah. God.
I almost feel weird talking about that one next because legitimately I did everything else first. I saved this one for last because you're in that world for like less than 2 minutes and you're like, I don't want to be here. This is awful.
Yes, I agree. Because you
It
walk
is-
into this world and you can't even interact with it at first. Like you walk in and you have to hit the train button to open the train station so you can leave the world and come back with the train. Like
Yeah.
you're not even allowed to play the level until you leave and come back.
And
That's
then
so
you're-
irritating.
Then you're more or less unable to access the rest of the floors until you bumble your way to like getting the flight pads outside so that you can fly up to the top or
Mhm.
progressively go from the top down the fire escapes or through windows that you can shoot or whatever.
Yeah, well, because the transformation in this world is that you turn into a washing machine, which is a stupid transformation also, just while we're on the topic.
I was fine with the washing machine because it's the joke from the last game, but you
Yeah.
actually do it.
Yeah.
So like as a transformation, I think it's fine. It's cute, and there's even a cheat that you can do in Kazooie. If you go to the sandcastle and type in "wishy washy banjo," you can just walk around as the washing machine, not do anything, but that's it.
Right.
But as far as like actually mechanically being the machine in the game, playing as the washing machine, it's really only to wash the rabbit's clothes.
Hmm.
The attack of shooting underpants at people, it's funny, but it doesn't really
Do anything?
work.
Yeah.
Like
It's not a good attack.
no, it's not. I hated this world so much. This is
Yeah.
if this is the Rusty Bucket Bay, this is the I don't
yeah.
want to be here level.
Absolutely. I hate this world. It's
Which by how much I hated this world and backtracking and fast traveling all over the world and being like, what do I have to? Oh nope, okay. And then sometimes you have to be Mumbo to start a thing and then run back to his thing while the timer's going, and then be Banjo, run back to where you were so you can stop a thing.
yeah.
It bad.
Putting
I
you on
don't-
timers.
I mean, it
Well, 'cause
wasn't
it's-
that. The timers weren't that egregious. Like you were able to do it, but
Yeah,
I
if
was like,
you
I don't
knew-
need the stress of this.
If you knew like the direct route to do it, you'd be fine. But it was because it's annoying. This is the most annoying world to get around because
Yeah,
when you're the
absolutely.
washing machine, you can't use the work pads, and when you're Banjo, you can't use the elevator. So
Yeah.
they're just like, hey, I know you unlocked the faster way to get between these areas, and that you need to be able to do that back and forth so that this level doesn't suck huge balls. But actually, I hate you, and no, you're gonna not do it the easy way. It's like, dude, stop. Like,
Well,
just let me play the game. You know?
when I was first exploring the level, trying to like, okay, there's a floor system. I need to get to floor 2. I need to find Mumbo's thing, and I need to find
Yeah.
Wumba's thing. I need to get to floor 2 and 3 and 4. And it's just like, okay, well, no, I can't use that because I can't. And you turn into the washing machine when you do eventually find Wumba, and you're like, okay, now I have the service elevator, but you can't explore the full level because the washing machine can't really jump
Mhm. Yeah.
and you can't get around. So it's like, okay, I need to get here as Banjo. The washing machine won't cut it. Then you find the elevator shaft that you can shimmy up. It's like, okay, finally, this is here. This is it. I can make it to floor 3. No, it's closed from the other side. Of course it is.
Of course it is. Why wouldn't it be? It's just this world is so annoying, and it's you have to leave and come back so many different times to like different powers to do stuff, and then like some of
Yeah.
the there's ones that you can see through like glass that you can't do until you find the opening to get in there from other worlds that are later. Like
Yeah.
this level is just it's just not fun. Like there's no aspect of this game of this level that is fun, right? You don't even have like fun characters in this one. Like the closest you get is that Logo is back, the toilet, and he like makes a joke about big stinky poops, and that's it. That's all he's got. That's this whole level is the only joke that you're gonna get. Like that's the only fun that you can maybe find.
If I can complain about something else about that damn toilet,
Yeah.
I was like, there's something to do in there because you hear like a rabbit or something, I assume, in the other bathroom right next to it, and you're like, okay, how do I get in there? And I'm like shooting grenade eggs and whatever.
Mhm.
Like, how do I get in there? Little do I know, just shoot a grenade egg at the other bathroom without a thing in it. But again, maybe that's me. Maybe I'm stupid.
Yeah, I don't know. It's awful. This has, I think, also my least favorite Jiggy of the whole game. Maybe second least. I don't know. Where it's the one where you have to shoot the barrels while they're like moving really fast. But if you miss and hit one of the like poison
you have
barrels,
to
then you have to
go
leave
out.
the room and reset the challenge. And it's like
Yeah.
this level is designed to stop you from having fun at every turn. I hate this level. And I would like to move on to the next world if you're okay with that. So second to last world, we got Hailfire Peak. So this is
Punk Hazard.
yeah, this is Punk Hazard from,
Yeah,
from One
Punk
Piece.
Hazard.
We were both making the joke like the second we saw it. 'Cause
How
it's,
can you
It's
not?
half ice, half fire, and we're like, there it is. That's Punk Hazard. We got him.
Yeah.
I also hate this level. Maybe less than Grunty Industries, and maybe in some ways more, because this one has a couple of like egregious sins, which is on both sides of the world. The two different bosses of this world are just constantly shooting at you the whole time.
Oh yeah.
And so until you take them out, which was the first thing I did because you had warned me about it beforehand,
It was not the first thing I did.
the entire time you're just like trying to do anything in this world, you're getting shot at. And it's just really, really annoying. And it just makes it so that you just can't explore this world until you fought the bosses, which is weird because that's usually what you want to do like at the end of the game. And these bosses I don't think are particularly bad or anything. I think they're fine once you actually get to the fight.
It's the stage.
Yeah, the stage is bad for sure.
It's the stage, which it's supposed to be like you're on a narrow mountain top and you have to run around and don't fall off. Like that's the gimmick. That's the point.
Yeah.
But I think the idea of like you fight an ice dragon and a fire dragon, I think that's cool.
It's Chili Billy, spelled Chilli, like the food or whatever. And then it's Chili Willy, Chilly, like burr. And it's like, that's a
Yeah.
cute bit, but they're also the same fight in different colors.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I kind of look at it as it's two parts of the same fight rather than just
Yeah,
do the
that's
same
fair.
fight. Because the first one goes by pretty fast. Like the first one is like you really get your bearings. Like you learn to stop falling off. You know exactly what you're supposed to do. And then it's the second one that's he has more health or whatever,
yeah.
or he has an extra move. I don't remember what it was.
It was-
different somehow.
Yeah, I don't think he has an extra move, but you do have to shoot him more times.
Yeah, it's fine. I think at this point, fighting these dragons, and again, I saved Grunty Industries to last, so fighting Weldar as well.
True.
I think it was like, go ahead, game, do your worst. There's nothing you can do to me you haven't already done.
You can't hurt me anymore.
I no longer feel your pain. I think I got really irritated with one of the puzzles on the fireside where you have to like get Banjo and Kazooie separately to two different pads
Mm.
on the Coliseum wall, which on the inside there's a chain you're supposed to climb that I had no idea you could interact with.
It took me a while to figure that out too, and then as soon as I did, I got shot off it twice by the stupid respawning asshole gargoyles
The
on the walls.
respawning thing on the wall, yeah.
So it didn't really matter that I found it earlier. It was probably just as annoying. I don't know. This world is boring and lame to me. It's just like reused things over and over again, right? Because you do the kickball game again, but it's worse because now you have to get the lower score, and all the guys are just throwing all the balls into your net constantly, so that's annoying.
Well, this is your version of the UFO game.
Yeah, I guess
I was
so.
the MLG gamer here.
It was I don't know, I hated it. I really hated it. I was like, you've taken this game that was okay and you made it worse, which is kind of what Tooie is. But then you've got the aliens again, and they also annoyed the hell out of me for a multitude of reasons. Number one, you save the dad with Mumbo's resurrection power that he's decided to not use on bottles the whole game.
Oh shit! I didn't even think of that. He was right there.
He was right there, and he had the power to resurrect people the whole time, and he's decided to just leave bottles dead.
I was gonna say his greatest ability, his greatest trick, resurrection.
Yeah, he can bring people back from the dead, and he's decided to not use it on one of his 3 friends.
That's a high class paladin spell. Maybe he just leveled up.
Or
let's be
hates
fair.
Bottles.
That's also possible.
So you do that and you raise the like alien dad, and then he's like, go find my kids, collect my pages, and you have to go and do that.
One of them is also dead, so you just have to do the bit again.
One of them's also dead. So you just do it. Yeah, you just do it again. The other one's just like kind of fine. You just get him out, and he's like, all right, I'll go. He's the girl, I guess, of this Boggy's kid equivalent, like rehash. And then the third one is cold, and you've been taught throughout like the previous levels that you can warm people up by just throwing fire eggs at them. But not this one. This one you have to hatch like he's an egg for no reason.
Damn. Did I even do that? I feel like I breathed fire on him and it worked.
I tried the same thing and it did not. You have to hatch him.
That's nuts.
It's really, really irritating. So they rehash that. They rehash the Boggy ate a Jiggy thing, but this time you have to feed him a fish that I didn't even know I had picked up until I threw it at him, and I was like, wait, where the hell did that come from?
I made a similar mistake where, so he was, they were like, go give him a fish, and then I got the fish, but for some reason in my brain I was like, there's more than one. I thought there'd be more than one. So I got it, and I was just like running around, not paying attention to it, mind you, like I was doing the other things in the world. But then I guess I just realized like, oh, there's only one fish. I went back and gave it to him, and that was the end.
It's also the world where you start your heel turn because you kill Mildred to get a Jinjo out of her.
Buddy, let me tell you, I wasn't expecting that because she's got the Jinjo inside. She's a big ice cube for those who don't know.
Yeah, she's an ice cube, and there's a Jinjo frozen inside her. And you have to blow her up to get it.
There are other ice cubes on this side of the map that have things inside that you have to like just bust to get like eggs or whatever. And she's there, and she starts telling you about her husband, and you think, I have to reunite this fucking family or something. So I guess the bit played out perfectly for me because it ended up being the same exact thing.
Yeah. As
when I hit Boggy's kid, and she just scattered, and then she was like, "Tell my husband his dinner's in the."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh,
I'm sorry,
that's
dude.
gore. That's gore of my comfort character." If Banjo Kazooie is like clocking into your job that you really like with your friends, and you're all having a good time, Banjo Tooie is like punching in with the same friends, but at a retail job over the holidays.
The spark is gone.
It's you're like, oh god, here we go.
Here we go, baby. Time to get destroyed by retail. And speaking of getting destroyed by retail, the last world, finally there, Cloud Cuckoo Land. Of the levels that I hate, this is probably the one I hate the least. The really terrible ones, right, are Grunty Industries and Hailfire.
How many of these worlds have I said I'm 50-50 on? It's got to be almost all of them.
Yeah, it's probably a lot of them.
Because this one, I like the actual world. I kind of like the theme, although I think the theme falls apart a bit because
I
we're
don't know
like,
what the theme is. Is
we're
it
a
just
big
sky?
we're a big sky, we're in Skypea. We're a big heaven in the sky world and clouds,
Sure,
big land in the clouds, and it's just like, okay, pot of gold on a rainbow. That's kind of
that's
magical
something.
cloud. Like, I don't get the gelatin castle.
Don't know what that's about.
I don't get the big trash can
Uh huh. Famous sky thing, trash can.
falls apart. Like
Yeah.
they were just whatever. Let's talk about the final boss of these worlds.
Canary Mary.
Okay, the second of the final bosses of these worlds.
Canary Mary is the final boss for me. It was
All
also
right.
the first thing I ran into in this world.
Yeah, she's right there.
She's
She's
right
like
there.
race me again. But you legitimately your arm's gonna be in a cast after this one.
Did you know? Okay, so they switched it from so they switched it to mashing for the last race. Like originally when they made the game, they were gonna have it be the same as that Mario Party thing where you spin the
stick?
thing and you get the blister.
No way.
But that happened first, and so they were like, okay, well we can't do that because you'll die. So they switched it to mashing.
You would legitimately have a hole in your fucking hand.
You would have the stigmata of Christ. Yeah,
That's insane.
yeah.
I can't even. My hand hurts just thinking about that.
For those of
Like
you
the
who
palm
don't
of my hand.
know, I guess we should probably say. So Canary Mary, we raced her twice in Glitter Gulch Mine, and you just mash a button to race her. And
Yeah.
the first 2 races that you do there are fine. Then you come and you meet her here, and she's like, I guess not dying of poison gas anymore, and she's like, she has gone Usain Bolt mode. And you have to race her twice. So you race her once to get a Jinjo or a Jiggy, and then the second time to get a Cheeto page. The first race to get the Jiggy, not too bad. Like it's hard, like way harder than the first 2, and did still take me probably 2-3 tries. But the last fight or race that you do against her is legitimately, I think, maybe impossible. In my defense, I had a fever of 102 at the time I was doing this race.
Oh goodness.
But I was mashing this button so hard that my entire body hurt. My shoulders hurt. My arms hurt. I was sweating. I hate this fight.
I think I did the first race on my first try, but that's not to make it sound
MLG, baby.
easy. It's not to make it sound easy. That's
No,
like,
it does suck.
you have to set your controller down and just full force mash as fast as you can on that single button. Like you're not even looking at the TV.
No.
Like you cannot focus on the television.
No, you have
while
you
you're
are-
doing this.
Your job is button.
You just
Right.
need to pray that your arm can last long enough
Did
for
you-
Banjo to reach the end of the
Do
race.
you do the thing where you like? I don't know if it's my gamer instinct, but I can like tighten up the muscles in my arm to where my arm just shakes. Like I'm not actually like pushing the button. I am tensing my
Absolutely.
body to the point where my
Yeah.
body is shaking, and I'm just mashing the button super fast
You're
by
you're
my
straining
like forced.
you're
seizure.
straining your hands, and you're like not even lifting your finger off the button. You're just tapping as fast
Yeah.
as you can. And it must be a skill that I learned as a child playing things like Mario Party, where you have to mash or whatever. But it that got me through the first one. But it was at the point where it was like, okay, she says like race me again for a piece of paper, and it's like, okay, she's got a Cheeto page. I can't do it right now.
I can't do it. My body
I have to
hurts.
go do other things, or even turn the game off for like an hour.
Yeah.
Let my arm come back to me, and then I could try it again. But then, even like that, it's not possible. Like, I told you what I ended up doing, which is a trick I had to look up for people to say, and it
Yeah.
seems like an obvious thing to try once you actually read about it. It's you do your bit, because in the second one, it's not I can't stay ahead of her, she's too fast. It's my arm cannot continue.
My arm has fallen off, and
My-
she's rubber banding hard as hell. She
My
is
arm-
shooting forward at the speed of a bullet fired from God's own gun, and I can't
physically-
do anything about it.
I physically can't keep the pace.
Yeah.
So she's passing me.
Dude,
so
I hate Canary Mary. Like
so-
we were mad at Crispy Bacon, and then Canary Mary was like, "Yo,
Yeah.
check this out."
Chris ain't got nothing on Canary. I want to point out there's a YouTube video. I wish I remembered the guy that did it. but it's called the Jiggy that almost killed Banjo Tooie.
If it wasn't this one,
Something
I'd
like
be
that?
shocked. Yeah.
No, he's talking about
Yeah.
this
It's
specific
gotta
Canary
be.
Mary race.
Good. Good, and
And
he's right.
so you do the same strategy. You smash the button as fast as you can, just like you at home should be smashing the like button, Lamau.
Yeah.
Uh,
Like,
you
subscribe, review us on
smash
podcast services.
smash the button as fast as you can, and then once your arm is about to give out, you pause the game. Pause the game. You lie down. You take a breath. You go make a
Get
sandwich.
a juice
Okay,
box
your
of
arms.
Gatorade.
Your arm's good. Unpause. Go 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 go. And then your arm's giving out again. Pause the game. Okay.
Yeah.
Go to the movies. Go see Borderlands. Just kidding. Don't do that.
Don't do that. Don't do it.
Your arm's good again. Unpause the game. Go go go.
Mash, mash,
You
mash,
you
mash,
do
mash.
that like 6 or 7 times, and then you basically trick the game into thinking you are smashing unreasonably fast for an unreasonable amount of time.
Yeah. Yeah, that sounds about right. I had to do that too. So you told me about the exploit like partway through, and I had to do that to beat it.
Yeah.
But I had to pause and unpause probably like 20 times in the one race because at that point I had done such irreparable damage to my already sick body that I was just like I was mashing for like a couple seconds, and then I was like, I need to go away. I need to do anything else for a minute.
Like, all right, listen.
Awful.
I keep saying that we're not very good gamers here, but only true MLG gamers have beaten Canary Mary, okay?
Yeah.
So
If you've beaten Canary Mary without the exploit, you're lying.
son of a bitch. You beat it, leave the comment, and I'll downvote it.
Yeah.
Get out of here.
Leave the comment, and I will comment back. No, you didn't.
But do leave the comment. Leave 2, actually. It's good
Yeah.
for us.
It's very good for our engagement.
Thank you, and I love you, but I hate you.
So that was the worst thing in the game. And the rest of this level was like fine, but I feel like the Canary Mary thing was so bad that I just like instinctively hate. It's like if you went to Disney World and your high school bully was there. You'd be like,
and he
even if I
followed you.
loved this, which, you know, this, to be fair, this world is not Disneyland. It's like, what's the crappy one that has like the Peanuts characters?
Hey, that's Knott's Berry Farm. You leave them alone.
It's like Knott's Berry Farms, or like one of the lesser Six Flags.
Listen,
it's like Six Flags over Minnesota.
Listen, I love Snoopy, and I'm a Disneyland kid, Disneyland guy. You know, no disrespect to Knott's Berry Farm, but when you're at Disneyland in California, you can like look down the street and you see Knott's Berry Farm with like a cloud over it. Like it's
because
you're
they
like,
got Canary
"Oh,
Mary there.
no disrespect.
But no, the rest of this world is like fine, I guess. Like there's nothing else in this world that like actively irritates me.
Well, so talking
But-
about beating Canary Mary with the exploit, that's
Yeah.
how I kind of feel, because one of the cheats you get for getting all the Cheeto pages is health regeneration. Like you lose a honeycomb, whatever, and then give it a beat, like what, 3 seconds, and it comes back.
Mhm.
And it's not quite invincibility, but it's the closest too. I don't think
It's pretty close.
I died to anything other than like falling off the world
Yeah.
once I unlocked that. And you know your boy's turning that on. I'm not fucking with, because the amount
Absolutely
of
not.
enemies,
Absolutely
the
not.
amount of enemies that pop up in this world specifically. When I was talking about like how bullshit the enemy respawn, I'm talking about inside the mountain on Cloud Cuckoo Land. But what I'm saying about the health regeneration thing, it's I think that is the only reason I beat the boss. The what's his name? The fake Mumbo.
Minji Jongo.
Yeah. Again, Minge. What's going on?
They found a joke and they liked it.
He's a cyborg evil. Because there's 2 Mumbo heads, 2 Mumbo houses in Cloud Cuckoo Land,
Yeah.
and one is the evil one. I thought like it's gonna be 2 different transformations.
Oh,
the
yeah,
one
sure.
that I gave the thing to first happened to be the real one.
No, yeah, I walked into the evil one first.
And then I walked into the other one, and it was just like, I'm evil. This is a boss fight. I was like, oh, okay. He moved pretty fast, and he hit me fairly often. Again, I'm
He
thinking
hits you
like,
really hard. His attacks track. You
Yeah.
don't really move fast enough to reliably dodge it, you know? You can't like Dark Souls dodge it.
It becomes a thing where like because you can only attack him like in the second half of his fight when like his little wand shorts out and he
Yeah.
stands still for not that long a time, maybe 2 seconds.
Long enough that if he had hit you with his last attack, he will be gone before you get to him.
Yeah, exactly. And then it just becomes a point where you need to dodge all his attacks and make sure that basically just wait for his wand to short out while he's on the ground, not on the throne or in the window.
Oh, see, I got
Just-
really lucky the time I beat him because he was on the throne and the throne and the like fire thing that's next to it. Is he just kept jumping back and forth between those, and so I could hit him before he could shoot because he like was jumping back and forth to things that were like 5 feet apart.
Oh yeah, see, he wasn't doing that for me. He was like opposite ends of the room. So I basically
What
like
a
picked a
dick.
point where I was like, okay, if he lands right there, I can hit him again. And that's kind of just how I whittled him down. But again, I was taking enough hits where it was if I didn't have that cheat, I don't think I would have done it in the first try like I did. So I don't know. Maybe there's people who don't use the cheats that did this
Those are-
legitimately.
Those are people who have
and-
been raw dogging airplanes. You know what I mean?
No, what?
Oh, have you not heard about this? Okay, so out of context, that's a really weird sentence to hear. Then,
Yeah,
so you know how when you're on a really long airplane, you like take a nap or you read a book or you watch a movie on the thing.
yeah.
There's a new trend on like social media where people are like, I just did a 9-hour flight, only staring at the like flight tracker screen
What? Why?
because people are stupid.
It's
It's like
also
a
I don't believe
challenge.
them.
Yeah, I mean it's probably a joke, but that's what they're saying. I also want to mention Mr. Fit in the Olympics that you cheat
Yeah.
in. Like there's you fight him in 3 different like competitions and you cheat in all of them.
Hey, if you're going to a race and you wear running shoes, that's not cheating.
I guess that's fair. The shoes with the springs on the bottom are definitely cheating though.
All right.
And
yeah, I'll give
taking
you
a
that one.
shortcut also definitely cheating.
Well, he could have taken the same shortcut. He's just
No,
an
he
idiot.
can't. He's too fat.
Fine.
I don't know. I felt bad about it. It was just another point on the "Am I the bad guy" tracker, which was then doubled down by murdering George.
I felt bad, but he was kind of an asshole.
He was
Like
kind of an asshole.
I didn't find the running shoes at first for the thing, and I knew
Yeah.
I was gonna need them, so I knew I was gonna lose. So I kind of lost the race on purpose just to see like how fast he actually is, see what I was working with. He immediately is like, "Yes, I'm the best. You suck." I'm like, okay, this guy needs to go. But yeah, George. Let's talk about George Ice Cube.
So George is the solution to, I think, the most annoying like side quest of the game, which is making those stupid ass pigs pool swimmable. Because you get to them in Jolly Roger Bay, and we didn't mention it at the time.
Yeah.
And they're swimming in a pool that's like filled with toxic waste, and one of them has grown a 3rd arm because of toxic waste and radiation. And I don't know, he's like a Futurama mutant now. In that world, you can go in and turn off the toxic waste, and then they're like, the water's too cold. I'm like, I don't want to swim in this water; it's too cold. And so you get to Hailfire Peak, which is like 3 worlds later, and there's a button in a boiling pool of water that you can hit. That's
Yeah.
like, oh, this will drop down into that pool. But then it's like, oh, well, we can't. They can't swim in this. It's too hot.
That's too hot.
That's too hot. And it's like, bro, it's Goldilocks who's got this problem, not the 3 little pigs.
Yeah.
And
exactly.
then on the last world, you find George, and he's like, hey, can you knock me off here? Like, I think I'm directly above my wife, who's definitely still alive down there. Can you knock me off so that I can go and make beautiful icicle children with my wife? And you're like, yeah, dude, 100%. And instead you knock him onto the fireside into that pool so that you can cool it so that these stupid-ass pigs can swim comfortably.
Are
I
you
guess.
implying that Banjo did that on purpose?
I think Banjo is a heel and a villain, and Grunty is actually the good person. I think Grunty is the hero of the story, and we just aren't seeing her side of it.
Interesting. See, I didn't think of it as Banjo did it on purpose. I just assumed it went as wrong as it possibly could on accident, and it just happened to be really funny. I'm a sucker for seeing a big thing fall out of the sky to its death.
I mean, it was kind of funny, but it is also like Banjo's either an idiot or a murderer.
And then he repeats the bit where he lands in the water. He's like, "No, I was wrong. Tell my wife I love."
Yeah. So anyway, that brings us to the last world, I guess technically, even though I don't know that it would count as like a whole world in and of
No, it's-
itself.
which is Cauldron Keep. It's where you do the boss fight. It's effectively the castle from the end of Kazooie.
Yeah, there's 3 steps to Cauldron Keep. You fight Klungo for the last time.
Klungo again, but this time he's got a multiplication power where you can like make more and more of him. But yes, you do that, and then you come to a trivia challenge. And I think this trivia challenge is worse than the one from the first game.
Worse?
Worse, yeah, I think so.
I thought
Yeah.
it was easier.
It's
if
definitely
not
easier.
Less. So by worse you mean just less interesting?
Yes.
Because yeah, so basically everything in this part is kind of a cakewalk, including the boss fight after this.
I agree.
And yeah, we're doing the trivia challenge, and instead of a big board, it's just we've got 3 contestants, and you're competing against Grunty sisters, which one of them's stupid and one of them is actually smart enough to steal answers from you every once in a while.
Yeah.
But they don't do the Brentilda bit, so there's no like actual Grunty stuff for you to know, and it's all stuff. I mean, everything from the last one was all stuff from that game as well, but it's there's no mini games or I didn't even get any music questions. I don't know if there was any.
Yeah, I didn't get any.
There was the occasional like, look at this picture, where's this from? And those were all really easy.
Look at this graph. Isn't it great?
What's this guy's name?
Yeah.
What characters from this world?
Yeah.
There were a couple that I was just wrong on. Like I just jumped the gun and said the wrong thing, but I still won. Like I didn't have to do this quiz more than once.
Same, yeah. I think this was really an easy thing. When I say it's worse, I just mean because like the thing where it's literally just I'm going to ask you questions and that's the whole thing is less interesting to me than like having the, even though it's pretty shallow, having the like strategic element of like I'm gonna go this way and then I'll do the Joker square so that I can get the extra thing so I can skip this. Like,
Yeah.
it just feels so much less involved and like
Mm-hmm.
therefore less interesting. And the questions are all pretty easy, so you end up just it almost feels like you're just watching a cutscene where you have to like answer a question every now and then.
Makes me wonder, was the trivia thing like a late in the game addition?
For this game, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe they were like, "What's the joke?"
But if that's the case, then what were the sisters for in the first place? Because this is the
No
only
idea.
payoff they get,
Yeah,
is to make it a 3-person game at the end.
yeah. I really don't know. Maybe I don't know. I really think that the sisters are underused in this game. Like it's a complete waste of those characters.
I don't know if they're in Nuts and Bolts. I've got no idea. I doubt they are.
I doubt it. Yeah. But yeah, and then after the trivia thing, it just does the same joke as the first game, where they're like, "We're rolling the credits," and then at the end, you're like, "Oh, I guess we should go and fight the Grunty, huh? Like she flew away on her ship. Like we should go up to the top of the tower and go fight her."
We do, important to note, we save bottles.
Save bottles. Yeah, we
We
use the machine that Grunty like didn't use for the entire game.
she at the very beginning, after you talk to the king of the Jinjos, she turns him into a zombie man.
Yeah. So the gimmick I guess we should have said this earlier. One of the gimmicks of the thing is that because she's been under a rock for like 2 years, she's died and turned into a skeleton. So she's created a machine called Bob that can suck the life power out of things, and then once it's full, it'll be able to give her body back through like Final Fantasy VII life stream energy.
Yeah.
She only ever uses it right at the beginning of the game to drain King Jinjo whatever of his power, of his life.
Yeah.
It goes up like 1/4 of the scale that's there, and then they never do it again for the rest of the game.
Yeah, I don't really have an issue with that. I guess because if you compare that to Kazooie, where she steals Tootie, we're gonna steal her cuteness, so she's not gonna be an ugly witch anymore. And like we see them get in the machine,
Yeah.
but then by the time we get to them, like we're doing the game show, like they're not in the machine anymore. I guess it's really just like for kids playing. It's like, this is the ticking clock. This is why you're playing, because this is what she'll do if you don't beat the game.
But yeah, so anyway, they do the same credit joke again, and then you go back up to the top, and Gruntilda's in a tank. She's in the Hag 1, the mining machine from the beginning of the game.
Drill tank, yeah.
And you just have to have a pretty straightforward, just like shoot her until she dies fight, and then that's kind of the end of the game.
I agree with you. So yeah. Oh, I'm gonna say it again. I'm sorry. I'm 50-50 on it.
Oh, there we go.
Because on the one hand, it is less interesting than the first game. On the other hand, it is less. It is more easy and less frustrating than the first game's final
True.
boss fight.
Yeah.
Same thing with the quiz. Same thing. I was okay with it. I thought it was like, yeah, I beat her. I'm happy now. I beat the game. And Bottles and King Jinjo and Bottles' family and some other characters all have a big old Thrasher party in Bottles' house without us.
Yeah. And then by
And
the
we
time you
show
get
up.
there, the food, they're like, they've eaten all the food or something. And so you
Yeah.
just go back to the top of the tower and play hacky sack with Gruntilda's head,
Yeah, yeah.
which is like pretty morbid. But then,
Yeah, but she
scene,
deserves
end
it.
of the game. Yeah, I guess.
She deserves it.
She didn't really do much evil in this game, to be honest with you.
She made a man a zombie.
She
Come
made
on.
she made a guy
What
a
is this?
zombie.
What is this revisionist history? She's an evil witch.
Yeah, I don't know. We did kill. Well, honestly, the most evil thing she did is she killed her two sisters because they don't get
Killed
to come
her
back.
own sisters. Yeah.
She don't even come back. So that's pretty rough. That's messed up, dude. I don't know. This is a game to me where it's like if they took Banjo Kazooie and they were just like, what if we made every aspect of this less fun? And there's so much of it where I feel like they had a lot of ambition, and I respect that. I really do. I think that doing the bigger worlds is a cool idea. I like that they've added the boss fights. I think, there's a lot of things that they have added to this game that should, on paper, mean that it's better. But I feel like every single comparison point that you can make between this and Kazooie, this comes out on the bottom.
Yeah, I definitely for me personally. Now, I know that not everybody thinks that way because there's a lot of stuff out there, especially recently, like looking up Banjo Kazooie stuff
Yeah.
and Banjo Tooie stuff. There's a lot of video essays about like underrated gem, better than the first one, stuff like that. And I in no way want to make it seem like I'm invalidating those opinions because I think
No.
it's all fair. It's all fair.
But I do
It's just for
disagree
me
with them.
personally. Yeah, me personally, I don't like this one as much as the first one. I'll say this as we just spent like 2 hours more or less trashing this game.
We're at like 2 hours 40 right now.
Oh boy, I want to say this very clearly. I am happy that this game exists. I'm glad that this
Yeah.
game is out there. I don't like it as much as Kazooie.
No.
I don't think it's as good as Kazooie. But as for it being another Banjo game that is out there, that it has cute stuff in it. You have to fight tooth and nail to get to it, I think. But it
Yeah,
has
yeah.
cute stuff throughout it. Will I ever 100% it again?
No,
I don't know.
I won't.
That means doing the Canary Mary thing again. But
Sorry, I had a PTSD flashback real fast.
yeah, it's there, and I don't want it to not be there. I'm not saying erase this, throw it in the trash.
No. Yeah.
I think it's okay.
Yeah, so what would you let's get to the review portion of it here, the review
Yeah.
score. If it helps you out, I actually polled what the Metacritic for Kazooie and Tooie are. So
Ooh.
Kazooie, the N64 version got a 92, and
Okay.
the 360 version got a 77.
Okay.
For Tooie, the N64 version got a 90, so 2 points below, and the 360
Interesting.
version got a 73, so what is that, 4 points below? 3 points below. No, 4. I was right the first time.
Interesting. Still pretty close though in quality.
Very close, incredibly close.
So my score. So I gave Kazooie an 8.5.
8.5.
And you gave it a 7.5, so
Yep.
that averaged to an 8.
Mm-hmm.
This one, I've been leaning back and forth on two scores.
Well, real fast before you give it, let me remind the audience. So on our review score scale, which we've stolen from IGN, 10 is a masterpiece, 9 is amazing, 8 is great, 7 is good, 6 is okay, 5 is mediocre, 4 is bad, 3 is awful, 2 is painful, and 1 is unbearable. If the words associated help you come to a conclusion.
Yeah. I was stuck between a 6.5 and a 7. I'm just kind of like floundering between those two, and I think not only our long conversation pointing out all the things we didn't like and some of the things we did,
Yes.
as is might be our catchphrase. um, I think it solidified, especially even saying what the scores are.
Yeah.
6 being okay and 7 being good. I think I am gonna say 6.5. That's probably lower than a lot of fans would want it to be, but it's just my
Yeah.
personal thing. Since our actual grading thing didn't even have decimal points on it, it would round up to a 7 if that helps anybody. But
There you go. There you go, guys.
yeah,
So you think it's like
6.5.
between okay and good? Like it's not quite good,
Yeah.
but you're not mad about it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I was very frustrated playing it,
Yes.
but I think the way I've talked about it the whole way through, I think 6.5 reflects that, what I've been saying.
I agree. And I'm actually like pretty much right there with you. So I've decided to give Banjo Tooie a 6 flat. Because I think this is the perfect example of an okay game. Right?
Yeah.
There is nothing about this game where I'm like wanting to recommend it to people, where I'm like, that's a good game, it should get its flowers. I'm like, this is an okay game. You can play it. There's a ton of like, if you can overlook that, if this doesn't annoy you, if you're okay with how this feels, right, then you can find some enjoyment in it. But I don't think that I would ever be like, oh, did you like Banjo-Kazooie? You should play Tooie. Because I feel like it is
Yeah.
significantly worse on pretty much every margin.
In fact, I think myself and friend of the show, Steven, as foretold in the scrolls,
Yes.
for years, we said the opposite to you. Like, oh, you played Kazooie, don't play Tooie.
Do not play Tooie. Yeah.
Like we said, don't do it. But yeah, I don't know.
So that would technically put our official RSR rating for Banjo-Tooie at a 6.25, which I am very happy with. I think I think we're like right in lockstep on that one. It is lower than what Metacritic has it at, but I feel like the way that we feel about it, I think that is very accurate.
Yeah. But hey, listeners at home, play it. Tell us yourselves if you haven't played it. Tell us if you have played it. Tell us how wrong we are. Tell us how right we are. No one's going to say how right we are, but that's okay.
That's fine.
We are open to discussion here. Our
Yes.
word is not law.
Unless you agree with us, in which case
Yeah.
it is
I mean,
law, and thank you, and please leave a comment about it.
if we all agree, who's going to stop us?
That's
you
right.
know?
We become an unstoppable force. We are the echo chamber of not very much liking Banjo-Tooie, but also thinking it's kind of okay. But anyway, we've gone on for probably way too long on this one. We're at like almost 250 now. If you have been a fan of this content and want us to make them, but maybe shorter, you can find us on Twitter at @RSR_POD. That's RSR pod. You can find me on Twitter at Daniel J. McG. Skyler does not have social media, so don't annoy him. Please go ahead and follow us on YouTube at RSR pod, or Ready Set Replay on YouTube. You can rate and review us on all of your favorite podcast services and let us know if we aren't on any of them, so that in these early stages we can get on whatever the best podcast service for you is, because if you don't tell us about it, we probably don't know that we aren't on it. And until next time, play more games.
The game's just starting, the world's so bright. Jump right in, everything feels